You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Hello and welcome back to Mariembourg. It is the Karting de Bagne International Raceway, the second round of the 2018 IAME X30 European Series. Jake Sanson here, reporting on all of the action as it happens for this final day of action in this second round of the 2018 European Championships. We've seen some fantastic action over the course of the last 48 hours already, from the likes of practice and qualifying on the Friday through to the 22 races we observed yesterday in each of our four classes, the X30 Mini, Junior, Senior and Super Shifter classes. It's been absolutely non-stop, action-packed, no holds barred racing all the way through the weekend, and we've got some magnificent climaxes to the weekend to come. So obviously things are going to be a bit different from where they were in Salisbury. We have some new pole position sitters. Miguel Zaraga is back on the front of the grid for the X30 Minis after a very solid day at the office yesterday. Eli Goldstein, the local man, is going to be starting on pole position for the Senior X30s. Very impressive when you consider that he is actually the youngest man in the field at just 14 years of age. Absolutely incredible how well he has gone in the course of the weekend. But with two victories, Eli Goldstein was absolutely superb, and he now starts from pole position for the pre-final of the Senior X30s a little later on this morning. In the Junior X30s, it is the young Scotsman from Dalry, Lewis Gilbert, who is the championship leader in Junior X30. He will go off pole position for the pre-final himself, and it's going to be very interesting to see how well he does from there. And then, of course, in the Super Shifter final, well, it's going to be an interesting one for Stendorian Pitamagi, championship leader. The drivers are actually out on track at the moment in the X30 Super Shifters for their warm-up session, 5 minutes around the circuit. And as you can see, if you're watching the Telemundi Media live stream, it is an absolutely magnificent, majestic, picturesque circuit across a beautiful landscape here in the heart of Belgium. A wonderful part of this country as well, and it's not too far away from where we have had Formula One racing in this part of Belgium. And I'm not talking about either Spa-Francorchamps or Zolder. I am, of course, talking about the street circuit at Chimay, which hosted Formula One back in 1954 and hosted the Grand Prix de Frontier all the way up until 1972, the last of those being won by the late, great David Purley back in his Brabham in the Formula 3 days. So there's a lot of motor racing from this part of the world. The last Formula 1 race to be won around here was at 1954, and of course that was the Crown Prince of Thailand, Prince Birabongatan, who got the victory in 1954. There's a lot of motor racing history in this part of the world, but here we are for the IAME X30 European Series, and it has been very, very busy over the course of the weekend thus far. So let's talk a little bit about how things have been going over the course of each of the classes. In the X30 Minis, we had a very interesting start to proceedings with the Belgian Kimi Abraham getting pole position from qualifying. He was a very strong local contingent and managed to get the first win of the day in front of Ruben Volt and Miguel Zaraga, the young Spaniard, and it was very, very close battling between those drivers in the mix. In the second race, we had Miguel Zaraga coming through to beat Kimi Abraham and Nathan Ottink after a very solid battle with those three up at the front. Patrice Kowalewski, the local man, was right in there mix as well. But the third race, oh my word, if you missed the third race from the X30 Minis yesterday, where on earth were you? Because it was absolutely incredible. Genuinely the best X30 Mini race I think I've ever seen. Terrific racing. We had about 6 of them, all squabbling for the lead at one point. Nathan Ottink eventually coming through to take the victory in front of Miguel Perro de Soraga and Ruben Volt, with Sergio Ruiz, Kimi Abraham and Lucas Flusha-Cross all part of that squabble as well. So we've got an amazing field of drivers in the X30 Minis, an incredible crop of talent, and it's not yet sure who is going to get the victory overall, because we had 3 different winners from the 3 heats yesterday. So that's going to be an interesting one. In Super Shifters, seeing as how they're out on circuit, we should talk about them a little bit. They had 3 very interesting qualifying heats. Not a single race passed yesterday without a jump start penalty. Very, very exciting stuff, and the tension's very high from people yesterday, but we had 2 jump start penalties in the first race for the Spirit Racing teammates, Kevin Luddy and Philip Seaver. Most painful of all of those being Kevin Luddy, because he actually crossed the line in first position, but did not have a big enough lead on his main opponents, Stendorian Pedamaghi and Thierry Del Rey, to beat them. So they were first and second. In the second race, we had a bit of a jump start penalty frenzy, because we had Carlos Leon, Barry Pullinger, Doriano Marchucci, Philip Seaver, Michel Bivica and Leonor Chalet all jumping the start yesterday. It was a bit of a crazy one, but Stendorian Pedamaghi beating his countryman Casper Corjus and Thierry Del Rey in the final reckoning. So really exciting stuff from them as they battled away to the finish. And then, of course, we also managed to get a great race in the third one with just the 1 jump start penalty. But crucially, it was Philip Seaver who jumped the start and initially got into the lead. Stendorian Pedamaghi passing him on the second corner, and his main rival, Kevin Luddy, Seaver's teammate, taking 2 laps to beat it to get past him. And that allowed that crucial 2-second gap to open up. Now, don't tell me there's more problems for Barry Pullinger. Either that or he was just practicing his starts. I think that was what he was really doing, because these drivers have obviously got to do the best they can to practice their starts. They are standing starts, of course, the Super Shifters, so there will be a few drivers practicing their starts this morning. But with 3 wins out of 3 for Stendorian Pedamaghi and good solid consistency for Kevin Luddy, it's still fairly even though, because even though Stendorian Pedamaghi won all 3 heats yesterday, he still got to look back on the fact that in qualifying he was absolutely dead level to the 1,000th of a second with Kevin Luddy. So you can just see Carlos Leon and Casper Corjus practicing their starts on the back straight there, just adjacent to the main straight. And obviously these karts do get off the line very quickly. You can see that for yourself. The 0 to 60 times of these karts are comparable to some of the top level sports cars. They are absolutely incredible, these machines. And the drivers pushing very, very hard in these Super Shifters. Now we get to the more complex topic, which of course is the X30 juniors and seniors. Very exciting races over the course of yesterday. Maximus Maya, the youngster who lives in San Miguel de Salinas in Spain. They're based over there and race in the Spanish Championships, but he is British by birth. He came through for an absolutely astonishing 3.5 second victory in his first heat of the weekend. He was just allowed by the rest of the field squabbling over second to get away, and he won by very nearly 4 seconds. An amazing gargantuan gap in the Junior X30s. Tom Leben and Zach Ripley, 2 Brits, joining him on the top 3 there, with Ollie Pilker, the Flying Scotsman Cian Shields, and the Canadian Jason Young all in the gaggle there, because there are a few drivers who unfortunately suffered penalties, namely Liam McNeely, Josh Rattigan and Laurence de Querta, the local man. That was the first heat. In the second heat in Junior X30, we saw the championship leader, Lewis Gilbert, continue his fine start to the season and picking up another victory, just 0.2 of a second ahead of his fellow Brit Josh Rowledge, and then the Belgian Sam Balota getting into the 3rd position mark, with Lois Delbar, Tom Uzan of France and Ronan Patrick Hackler in the top 6, with rather regrettably the man who finished 3rd on the road, Delano van 't Hoff, the Dutchman, getting penalised. A real shame there. Another one who got a penalty as well, who finished strong and up in the top 6, sadly, was Alex Lloyd, and he was dropped back to 16th position in the final reckoning. A real shame, really, because he deserved better than that. Then we had the 3rd heat, and it was Lewis Gilbert and Josh Rowledge 1 and 2 again, just in front of the Estonian Rimo Kadapik, who had a horrible start to his weekend in the very first of the Junior X30 race heats, when he was battling for victory and ended up getting into a collision with Daniel Gregor of Germany and wiping out his kart and destroying the front end, having been fastest in practice all of Friday, and he was absolutely hopping mad and livid. It's worth going back and looking. I've never seen anybody everybody so enraged. But Rimo Kadapik has obviously had to come back out of that and rebuild his weekend. And third position in that race behind Gilbert and Rowledge, a very strong performance. Enzo Juliet, Noah Maton, and the Brit Josh McLean all within that top 6 battle as well. Unfortunate as well, because just in behind them we had Zach Ripley, and he was another one of the drivers who unfortunately was penalised. And then, of course, one of the big names to fall in that heat was the Spaniard Mariembourg, who lost his exhaust, and then everybody was trying to dart away, trying to avoid the incident, and Herod Nardini, Jason Young, and Clean Shields all got swept up in it and were out of the race on the spot. So very dramatic racing yesterday from that particular heat, the third heat of 6. In the fourth, it was the Belgian local Sam Balota who took the victory in front of Max Meyer, who again was very strong in fending off from Josh Rattican. Did a great job there as those three had the rostrum positions. Tom Uzan, Alex Lloyd, and Ollie Pilker in the mix, with Linus Janssen, Alessandro Todisca, Liam McNeely, and another one of the top locals, Luca Leistra, not far in behind. Leistra's had a really bad run of luck this weekend, and hopefully in the finals he will come good. Then we had Josh Rowledge winning an absolute stonker of a race yesterday in the 5th of the heats, probably the best, I would say, of the heats yesterday, the most action-packed for certain. Josh Rowledge in front of Marty Boyer, who fought his way back to second in front of Lewis Gilbert, who with Enzo Juliet, Laurence de Querta, and Liam McNeely all in the mix there. And an amazing fight back for the young British lady, Alicia Barrett, to fight her way up into 7th place after what had been a very tough race for her over the course of the weekend. Erbelt Moore, Linus Janssen and Emma Sheppi in the top 10, because there were penalties galore handed out in that race for all sorts of difficulties with nose fairings and what have you. Dilana Van Hoff, Tom Leben, Daniel Gregor, Lois Delbar, Josh Rattican, William Nicolou, Ollie Pilker, all penalised for that one. But of course, that is a race that a lot of people will remember from right at the start, when the pole sitter Max Meyer was not even able to get his engine started out of the pits, and so his hard work of the weekend putting on pole position was completely undone in an instant. So devastatingly cruel, and a really, really nasty way for his race weekend to develop. Into the final Junior X30 heat of yesterday, we had a strong race from Alex Lloyd, who took the victory, 0.4 of a second clear of Noah Maton and Rimo Kadapik. Another strong race from the Estonian, with Luca Leistra fighting back beautifully to 4th place. Josik Spinkovic, the pole, was in 5th ahead of Josh McLean. From Sam Balota, Tom Uzan, the Scotsman Cian Shields, and Victor Pardo, the independent Spaniard. So very interesting stuff from the juniors, and it all adds up to Lewis Gilbert starting the pre-final from pole position, with Josh Rowledge alongside him, Sam Balota and Tom Uzan, Josh McLean and Max Meyer at the front end from Alex Lloyd, Noah Maton, Liam McNeely and Rimo Kadapik. It's going to be a really interesting battle. Some big names a little down the field as well. Luca Leistra in 13th place on the grid. Marty Boyer is 14th. Dilana Van Hoff is 15th. Josh Rattican's down in 18th on the grid. And then there's even a bit more battles from further back. The very talented Belgian Laurence de Querta's down in 25th. The Flying Scotsman Cian Shields will be lining up for that race in 22nd place. So there's a lot of changes to come from that one, we think. That's all from the X30 juniors for the moment. Now we need to focus on the X30 seniors, because they are going to have 2 races first thing this morning, the Second Chance Heat and the Comet Cup, because of course there are 70 of them over the course of the battles, so we've got time to talk about each of the 10 heats that took place yesterday. The first heat was Nicolas Picot, who took the victory in front of the local man Eli Goldstein and Joey van Splunteren in 3rd position. The Dutchman from Jordan Brown Nutley, Ruben Moyer and Javier Hansheim, with penalties unfortunately to Noah Ruvers, who finished in the top 6, and Sylvester Alexeyevas, who finished just outside of it. In the second heat, it was a 1-2 for the Cosmic Racing Sport team. Joe Turney and Clayton Ravenscroft at the 1st and 2nd places. From Rens van Pelt, the Belgian on home soil. Sean Butcher, the Australian, 4th ahead of Henkie Waldschmidt and Isaac Valtonen. Really exciting battles, and a good run as well from the Scotsman Angus Mulsdale, who set the fastest lap of the race and finished up in 7th place. But there are some interesting battles further back. In the third heat, it was the Belgian William Godefroid who took the victory in front of Ruben Moyer, Philip Vava, Jordan Brown Nutley and Louis Westover. Originally it was going to be Niels Koelen in the mix, but he was given a penalty, unfortunately. Despite finishing 2nd on the road, he was dropped to 6th position. Levi Lintocanto, Nicolas Picot, Stephen Planchamp and Sébastien Degrand ended up in the top 10. You're probably wondering, why haven't I heard the name Mark Kimber yet? Well, he didn't manage to get out in practice on Friday due to exams and has had to fight his way through and has finished on the outskirts of the top 10 for most of the weekend. Eli Goldstein, in his fourth heat, took victory in a brilliant style over Joe Turney from another two locals, Rens van Pelt and Felix Varge, who was very, very strong as an independent runner there for the 3G Racing team. Vincent Marcerou is there in fifth position from Joey van Spunteren, Sim Liedmar, Harry Platten, Sylvester Alexievas and Noah Roovers in that particular race. In the fifth of the Senior X30 heats, it was the Australian Sean Butcher who stormed through to a fastest lap and race victory from Henke Waldschmidt and Niels Koelen. Clayton Ravenscroft taking fourth from Ali Akabi, the Jordanian, and William Godefroid in front of the world champion Danny Curl, who was just outside the top 6. Camille Pruteau, Ben Fires and the independent runner Owen Byatt in the top 10. 11th, interestingly, was Mark Kimber. Then we moved into the next heat. It was Nicolas Pico who took the victory from Joe Turney and Jordan Brown-Nutley in the top 3, with Rens van Pelt, Isaac Valtonen and Vincent Marcerou all in the mix. Then we had, of course, the most dramatic of the races. That was the one after the next one, unfortunately. Sorry, I've got my heats confused. But the 7th heat was another lights to flag run from Eli Goldstein, who set the fastest lap in the process in front of Niels Koelen and Joey van Spunteren, Harry Platten, Siem Liedmar, Tony Harainen, and then Philip Vava, with the top 10 completed by the Swiss driver Danny Bunshu, the BMR British driver Thomas Fleming, and Strawberry's Mark Kimber. Then we had our particularly dramatic race where the race was actually red flagged after 2 laps after a horrific looking incident between Henke Kalteren and Enzo Giroud. The race was stopped for 40 minutes while the cleanup operation was done. I can tell you, having had the driver Enzo Giroud taken to hospital yesterday, the verdict is he has a broken leg in 3 places on the leg, but otherwise he is okay. And that is absolutely astonishing when you consider just how ferocious that accident looked yesterday. But he is okay. He is on the mend already, and he's in very safe hands, and he is positive and very upbeat despite the accident yesterday. So fair play to all of the team here for getting that sorted very, very quickly. And Henke Kalteren, I can tell he was absolutely perfectly fine. In fact, he took part in the race later on. So Sean Butcher taking the victory in that one from Henke Waldschmidt and Ruben Moyer. Clayton Ravenscroft, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Ali Akabi finishing up in the top 6 in that one, with only a major penalty for Danny Curl, who was in the top 6 and eventually was dropped back, unfortunately, down to 15th position. The last 2 heats for the seniors yesterday was a 1-2 for the Belgians, Rens van Pelt and Felix Varge, with Isaac Valtonen, Angus Moulsdale, Joe Turney and Camille Pruteau locked with William Godefroid in a magnificent fight that eventually went the way of Rens van Pelt. Philip Vava, Tony Harainen and Danny Bunshu all ended up in the top 10. A penalty, unfortunately, for Vincent Marcerou, who finished second, first on the road, I've been told. Yes, he was first on the road, of course, but Vincent Marcerou was eventually given a penalty, and so the win went to Rens van Pelt in front of his countryman Felix Varge. And then, of course, in the last heat, it was all about Eli Goldstein, who did an absolutely fantastic job of beating Henke Waldschmidt on the road. Sean Butcher then coming through to second position after Henke Waldschmidt was given a penalty. Joey van Spunteren in fourth from Danny Curl, Ben Fayers, Clayton Ravenscroft, Siem Liedmar, Ali Akabi, and the top 10 rounded out by Martin Hebet. Well, that basically means that the Senior X30's front of the grid is going to be led by Eli Goldstein with Sean Butcher, Joe Turney, Rens van Pelt, Henke Waldschmidt, and Nicolas Pico in the top 6 from Joey van Spunteren, Jordan Brown-Nutley, Clayton Ravenscroft and Isaac Valtonen. There's going to be a few drivers who are going to be trying to make up a bit of time. We've obviously got Vincent Marcerou, who was a race winner on the road, down in 12th on the grid. 13th will be Angus Moulsdale for that. Ali Akabi, who's done so well, 14th. William Godefroid down in 15th place. Danny Curl, the reigning world champion, well, he'll have to start from 19th place. And obviously it's going to be a tough one for Mark Kimber as well, who will now be one of the top drivers in the second chance race, which is coming up a little bit later on. But first of all, we go into our first of our races of the day, which is going to be the second chance heat. And it's going to be the Canadian Jason Young, who starts from the front of the grid for the PDB Racing team. Alongside him is going to be the independent Spaniard Victor Pardo. And in the second row of the grid will be the Swiss driver Aaron Rescepi for the Spirit Racing team. And alongside him will be the German for HTP Kart team, Herodind Nerodini, who is the dual racer for Albania and Germany. Fifth on the grid is going to be the Fusion Motorsport driver Alicia Barrett, who's had absolutely no no luck at all this weekend, but fought her way through to a valiant 7th place in the third and final of her heats. So there is a good chance that she could win this one. Daniel Gregor alongside her is going to be another top challenger to move forward and has the speed to win without any shadow of a doubt. As too does Eric Alanis Bosch, the man in 7th on the grid for the FA Racing Spain squad. As does the man in 8th position, actually, Zach Meakin for Went Valley Motorsports. Didn't have any luck at all yesterday and has a chance to break through. And then in 9th position, Alex Ivanov for the Ike's Racing team. Only 3 drivers in this race will not make it through to the pre-final later on, because obviously this is the second chance race. 28 places in the final have already been booked, and they will now be whittled down to the remaining 6 who will take up resident places 29 to 34 on the starting grid. So basically the top 6 drivers across the line in this second chance heat will be the ones going through to the next part of the day, and the other 3, sadly, will be going no further. So it's the Canadian Jason Young, the Spaniard Victor Pardo, the Swiss Aaron Reshepi, the German Herodin Nerodini, the Brit Alicia Barrett, the German again Daniel Gregor, the other Spaniard Eric Alanis Bosch, the final Brit Zach Meakin, and the Estonian Alex Ivanov. So 9 drivers all getting themselves ready for action here, and it is going to be palpable from the start. The tension is already pretty high down there as the drivers are getting ready for the action here in the second round of the 2018 IAME X30 European Series from the beautiful Karting de Fagnes International Raceway here in Mariembourg. There are 8 days racing in front of us, 11 races in total. These first 3 will be the last chances for drivers to put on a bit of a show. In the juniors and seniors, in their second chance heat, it will be their last chance to break into the pre-final. In the Comet Cup, it will be their last race of the weekend. So here we come. It is a great race in front of us for Jason Young, Victor Pardo, Aaron Reshepi, Herodind Nerodini, Alicia Barrett, Daniel Gregor, Eric Alanis Bosch, Zach Meakin, and Alex Ivanov on the starting grid for this second chance heat. The Canadian's going to want to come out strong and fighting very hard from the off. Victor Pardo in there in second position, wanting to have a really good, strong run. Aaron Reshepi should be one to keep an eye on here. The Swiss has been very aggressive all the way through the weekend. Sometimes it's worked out in his favours. More often than not, he's ended up being the one who's been spat out to the sidelines. Helen Nerodini should be a strong contender for the victory in this one. The German has been very quick, so let's see if he's got what it takes to move further forward. Alicia Barrett in 5th position on the grid. Now, the Fusion Motorsport driver was very strong at the end of yesterday. Just had absolutely no luck in the opening phases of those first 2 heats, but in the third heat she was particularly strong and benefited from a lot of other drivers' penalties to move herself further forward. Now, I've got a feeling Alicia Barrett on paper is my favourite to win this one, because on the third row of the grid on the inside line she's got a good chance to storm her way through. Daniel Gregor is definitely going to be a threat though on the third row of the grid for Team Zinner. Eric Alanis Bosch for FA Racing Spain is the last of their men to try and make their way through into the X30 Junior Brigade, and then Zach Meakin, who is the driver just for the Lone Ranger Went Valley Motorsports team, who are working in cahoots with Thule Motorsport in the same awning this weekend, in different classes of course, but good to see that Zach Meakin is keeping his spirits high and working hard all through the weekend. The Estonian for the Ike's Racing team, Alex Ivanov, who's had again absolutely no luck at all this weekend, finds himself in 9th position, and he could storm himself up into the top 6 very easily. Basically, the best way to sum this all up is that there are 9 drivers fighting for 6 places on the pre-final grid, and all of the 9 of them deserve to be there. So it's going to be very cruel luck for whichever 3 don't manage to make it. So Leung, Pardo, Reshepi, Nerodini, Barrett, Gregor, Alanis Bosch, Meakin and Ivanov are getting themselves ready to race for just 6 places. The top 6 karts across the line will continue on their journey for the rest of the weekend. The other 3 will be booking an early flight home. Here they come. Into their 2 staggered grids. The engine revs will rise as they remain in the tram lines, and it's going to be a great start. Here we go, and Victor Pardo moves straight across to try and battle with Jason Young, and right round the outside. That's a great start from the middle of the pack there from Daniel Gregor, who's moved up into 3rd position straight away. Alicia Barrett through into 4th, getting a little bit of a tap from Erilyn Nerodini, and that is a bit of a run wide from Reshepi. Alex Ivanov's already made light work of Zach Meakin. Alanis Bosch has been swept out to the side there, but Alex Ivanov has moved himself into that critical 6th place. The top 5 have broken clear. So on the bubble are those 4 at the back of the field fighting for the last place in the race. Alicia Barrett trying to move up the inside into 3rd position on Daniel Gregor, and she's through. So a little bit of a cheeky manoeuvre, but Alicia Barrett through into 3rd position and now chasing after our leaders, Jason Young and Victor Pardo. So the two men from the front being chased down now by Alicia Barrett. I did say she'd be a strong contender for the victory in this one, and Barrett is going after it with absolute relentless nature. She is going for it. Daniel Gregor and Herolin Neradini, the two Germans, are fighting over fourth position as well, but Alicia Barrett is chasing down the leaders, Jason Young and Victor Pardo. 7 laps to go. Victor Pardo is going to make his move for the lead straight away into turn 2, and already through as well is Alicia Barrett. Good move there as she takes advantage of the open door left by Jason Young. And now she's going to chase after Victor Pardo. Up at his second position has gone Alicia Barrett. And now it's going to be charging after Victor Pardo. Back on the inside comes Jason Young and Alicia Barrett. I think that is who's gone off. No, it isn't. It is Jason Young. So Young tried to go for the move. Alicia Barrett remains in second place, but the Canadian Jason Young is now down to 7th position. Critical mistake there from Jason Young, as now that puts him down and out if he remains in 7th place. So a big problem for the Canadian as he tried to go for the move on Alicia Barrett, and Alicia Barrett was not going to play ball. That was a very strange place to go for the overtake, but Alicia Barrett hanging on to it and doing a fine job. Now she's going to go for the lead into the inside of turn 1 on Victor Pardo. Pardo trying to stay with her, but Alicia Barrett is through and takes the lead. Fantastic driving from Alicia Barrett into the lead of the race here from Victor Pardo. Herolin Neradini is right in there as well in 3rd position. So Neradini looks as though he's going to try and make the move on Victor Pardo before long. Alex Ivanov is up in a 4th place. What a drive from the Estonian up to P4. From the back of the grid, and now in 4th place. 5th position, that is Daniel Gregor in front of Erik Alanis Bosch, and it looks as though these 6 are going to get through, especially now for Erik Alanis Bosch as he makes his way past Daniel Gregor into 5th position. So a good bit of driving there from Erik Alanis Bosch in the FA racing cart up into P5. So it's Barrett, Pardo, Nunadini, Ivanov, Alanis Bosch and Gregor. That's your top 6, and it looks like those are the 6 that are going through to the pre-final. So Alicia Barrett leads the way at the moment here in this fantastic heat. 2nd place for Pardo. Pardo's going to try and make the move, but Pardo doesn't make the move, hoping that Alicia Barrett makes a mistake in turn 1. Pardo's going to try and get on with this. Nunadini is trying to spread them out further and get away as Daniel Gregor makes the move up on the inside of Erik Alanis Bosch for 4th position. Victor Pardo goes the long way through turn 4, and that's actually given Alicia Barrett, a little bit of work there. So she has got a bit of a gap. Zach Meekin is at the back of the field behind Jason Young, trying to battle it out with Aaron Reshepi, and Zach Meekin makes the move up into 8th place. Good move there, but he's really got to hope that there's some problems further up the road because these guys are going to battle it out big style up in the front. And Alicia Barrett is your leader still. Victor Pardo still in 2nd place from Herolin Neradini and Alex Ivanov. Amazing run this from the Estonian. Alex Ivanov up to 4th position. He's just cutting through the field like wildfire. No bad luck for him today as he fights his way forward. Barrett is your leader. Pardo's 2nd. Neradini in 3rd position as they go through. 4 to go. And Neradini looks pretty hungry in behind Victor Pardo. Pardo's going to make the move, I think. Alicia Barrett's going to move right across to stop that from happening. Good defensive driving from Alicia Barrett. Now Neradini's going to try and get up the inside. They bang wheels. And Neradini's going to continue to make that move happen. Alex Ivanov's going to try and get in there. Up into 3rd position past Pardo. Ivanov's now 3rd. This is terrific racing from Alex Ivanov. Up into 3rd position now from the back of the grid. We said he didn't deserve to be in last place. And now Ivanov has charged his way forward to 3rd. Pardo coming back on the inside and takes 3rd place back. Now Daniel Gregor going to live up the inside of Alex Ivanov. And nearly Ivanov loses it. Comes onto the back. And very nearly I think there was a little bit of a tap there on the back of Daniel Gregor. And now Erik Alanis Bosch is trying to get in there. But Alanis Bosch has got to think carefully here. He doesn't want to be spat out onto the scenery. But look at that. Alicia Barrett's now got some breathing space in front of Herolin Neradini. Then it's Victor Pardo. 4th position, that is Daniel Gregor, Alex Ivanov and Erik Alanis Bosch. And how about that? Jason Young has all of a sudden got onto the back of this queue. So Jason Young not giving up, still has a chance, and now he dies for Erik Alanis Bosch, and he's through. So Jason Young gets back into the pre-final. 34th position is where he'll start if he stays where he is, but he'll still be in it. For Erik Alanis Bosch, this could be a very tough battle to lose, but he's going to try and get back on terms with Jason Young. Here they come. Now, Young is forgetting about him. He's going to try and get on terms with Alex Ivanov, the Estonian, who climbed as high as 3rd position at one point before getting passed again by Victor Pardo, and that's opened the floodgates for Daniel Gregor to get through as well. But Alex Ivanov is still fending off from Jason Young and Edgar Bosch. The two at the further back, Zach Meekin and Aaron Reshepi, are doing their best. Meekin trying to catch these guys. If there's an incident further up the road, then Meekin still has a chance to run in this one, as Young has a look at Alex Ivanov for 5th position. That will cement his position. So he's hoping to continue on his journey for the rest of this weekend. Edgar Bosch having to sit patiently in 7th place at the moment. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, the fastest lap of the race comes from Helen Nardini on a 57.093, and he is catching Alicia Barrett for the lead of the race. So it might not be Alicia Barrett who wins this one. We did say that Helen Nardini was going to be a tough one for her to beat. So Helen Nardini is closing in. Alicia Barrett needs to stay very focused at this point. She's done a great job so far. We're on the penultimate lap, so she just has to maintain this gap to Helen Nardini. He can't afford to get through as far as she's concerned. But the third place battle is tensing up as well, because Victor Pardo is being caught by Daniel Gregor. And then we've got this fight for the last 2 places in the grid for the pre-final between Alex Ivanov, Jason Young and Eric Alanis Bosch. Here we go. Last lap. Barrett and Nardini, and here goes Jason Young on the inside of Ivanov, and that takes him up to 5th position. Good racing so far. Ivanov's going to try and get him back, is he? Meanwhile, further up, Daniel Gregor's got past Victor Pardo. So Daniel Gregor, the German, is up to 3rd position, past Victor Pardo. Now Ivanov is going to try and get back on terms with Young. He's going to get some assistance from Ernest Bosch. There's not enough for him to get through. They have to dart away from each other. Goodness me, that was tight. And now Ernest Bosch is going for broke on the inside of Ivanov, and it hasn't worked. Now Ivanov's going to go for Young. Meanwhile, back in the lead, we've got Nardini right on the back of Alicia Barrett, and I think he might try something at the very last minute. So it's going to be a close battle between these guys to get the final few places, but Alicia Barrett and Helen Nardini are going to race to the flag. Ivanov and Leung, I think, have done enough to book their places, but it's now time to wave the checkered flag for Alicia Barrett, who's going to come through and win the pre-fight, win the second chance heat. A great result for Alicia Barrett. Alicia Barrett wins it here in front of Helen Nardini, and a fantastic drive from the Brit. Alicia Barrett does a fantastic job and takes the victory. She really deserved that one. Really great drive. Fought her way through from 5th on the grid. And Alicia Barrett becomes the first woman in 2018 to take a race victory in the IAME X30 European Series. And rightly so. Very worthy drive from her. Helen Nardini in 2nd place. 3rd position for Victor Pardo, Daniel Gregor, Alex Ivanov and Jason Young. Those are the 6, provisionally, that will go through to the pre-final, barring any penalties, which we hope there will be none. Alicia Barrett takes the win. Helen Nardini in 2nd place from Victor Pardo La Rosa. Daniel Gregor, Alex Ivanov and Jason Young are in the top 6, which means for the moment, we sadly have to say goodbye to Eric Alanis Bosch, Zach Meekin and Aaron Reshepi. But if there's any post-race scrutineering to be done, there could be a chance for one of the 3 of them to get back in. Well, that's the X30 Junior second chance heat. We now have the X30 Senior second chance heat, and that's going to be even more busy. As you can see, considering we have 70 karts on the grid, it is a full capacity grid of 28 drivers. It's going to be a really impressive run. 24 drivers, my apologies, and we'll talk you through the grid in just a moment for that Senior X30 second chance heat.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
So a terrific race battle yesterday, but there are about 24 drivers on this grid who are hoping to make their way further forward. They're going to have to do a lot of hard work to get there. It's going to be a very tough race, this one, the Senior X30 second chance battle. It will be very, very tough for the drivers to keep up to speed with it all because there's a lot going on. But we have a very busy grid for this second chance heat. Thomas Imborg will be on the front of the grid in the KCM CRG, with Morgan Porter in the M Sport kart alongside him. on that front row of the grid. And in third place, Mark Kimber. So two of the top names in this championship who have not had the best of luck coming into this weekend. But Morgan Porter and Mark Kimber definitely favourites to move further forward. Sébastien Degrand in fourth position, from Carlos Saval-Martin in fifth, and Noah Rubers in sixth place. Tony Harainen in seventh position alongside Thomas Fleming, with Martin Hebet and Kevin Stuhauer in the top 10. The Japanese racer Masatora Wada, who's had absolutely no luck at all this weekend, ran in the top 6 a couple of times over the course of the weekend before eventually being nerfed wide a couple of times and ending up falling down the order. It's a similar story for the Swede Robin Knutsson, actually, who really struggled yesterday, had a difficult run of luck, but he's there in the top 12 for this second chance heat, and he's one of the drivers, for my money, who could storm his way through. But then so too could the Dutchman for the Dimes Racing Team, Rivaldo van der Westerlaken. He's got a good chance to move forward, with Stefan Planchamp, the Spirit Racing driver from Switzerland, in at 14th place. Then another driver who could be up the front end without all of the bad luck and difficulties he's had, Xavier Hansheim in 15th position, knows this place like the back of his hand, but has had absolutely no luck at all in the TYS Racing Team. He'll be charging forward, as will the Irishman Ross Hayes for the Piers Sexton Racing Team. He's going to need to have a really strong run of luck from his point of view. Then we have Jarno Gouvaerts, the Belgian for P1 Racing. He'll want to make progress. Romain Leroux, the Frenchman, alongside Eduardo Cosseteng, the Filipino, both under a British licence, of course, for Piers Sexton Racing. Rufus Hunt, the young Brit from Rugby, Fusion Motorsports driver there, the number 253, the 14-year-old, will be on the 20th position on the starting grid. The reigning German X30 champion, Jan-Philipp Springhob, has had a very bad luck weekend thus far and finds himself down in 21st on the starting grid for the HTB kart team, alongside the RSD karting driver Nicolas Bayard. Rafael Villagomez, the Mexican, is in the RSD karting team there in 23rd on the grid, from Harry Barlow, the British superstar. You can just see him there, actually, in the middle of your picture, standing next to Rufus Hunt, if you're watching on the Telemundi media stream. He is starting there from 24th on the grid. Then we have Thanapongpang Sutumnu on the starting grid, the Super Windforce race team driver, and Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz in 26th place. Then Manel Godofretorne in 27th, from the Evolution Racing lady Lena Bueller, hoping to become the second lady racer this weekend to take a victory, after Alicia Barrett has just done so in the second chance heat for the juniors. Then it is Enzo Giroud, should be there on the grid, but unfortunately he will not be competing. He's eligible to race from 29th, but of course he is in no fit state to, having broken his leg yesterday in a very nasty accident, but he is okay and recovering well. We should just point that out. So Louis Westover in 30th position, Gustav Brandin and Evan Becerra, and then Simon Henrad and Kamil Donic rounding out the field. So a really exciting battle for the 34 drivers in the mix here in Senior X30, and it's going to be a really interesting battle, this one, because we had some very tough racing across the 10 heats yesterday, and there's going to be some absolutely terrific racing over the course of the day. And for these guys in particular, the pressure cooker's really going to intensify. We've got several drivers in the Senior X30 Championship in this one race who are definitely, by their standards, out of position. You've got to look at the likes of Morgan Porter, Mark Kimber, Jarno Gouvaerts, Thanapongpang Sutumnu. There's also the likes of Jan-Philipp Springhob, the reigning German X30 champion, Rufus Hunt, Xavier Hansheim in particular, Masatora Wada, Robin Knutsson, Rivaldo van der Westerlaken. All of these drivers could easily have found themselves in the main grid for the pre-final already, and are going to have to struggle to fight out for those top 6 places. Along with a couple of the drivers who have local knowledge of this place, of course, Thomas Imborg, Sébastien Degrand, Noah Ruvers and Martin Hebet, in particular, are very strong racers around this circuit in their national championships, in the Benelux Championship, have done a magnificent job. But it's now time to put this into practice, because there's only 6 places available in this race. And with this being the second chance heat, the last chance, if you were, for these drivers, there's only 6 places going up for grabs, and there's 34 drivers who are going up for those positions. So this is going to be an incredibly tough battle for each of these drivers, and I have a feeling that with the close competition nature that we have from Senior X30 this year, particularly this weekend, we're going to have a good 18 or 19 drivers at one stage in the race in contention for that top 6. It's going to change big style, but it's important for a couple of the drivers, particularly the likes of Morgan Porter and Mark Kimber, if they get an opportunity to be in first and second, they know each other well, they've raced each other many times, they'll want to try and get away from the rest of the pack, break clear, and then book their places no matter where each of them finishes. They won't matter too much by the time it will go to that stage, but it's going to be very tricky to picture how it's going to go. But 6 drivers are going to go through from this 34 driver grid, so it's going to be busy and it's going to be frenetic, as well as the great battles we have in the front end of this field. The mid-pack is going to be incredibly tight-knit because there's going to be so many drivers fighting their way through, a lot of them who have lost places either due to a penalty or just bad luck, difficulties that have come up over the course of the weekend. It is always very, very tight, and the drivers have got to be very, very focused now to try and move their way forward efficiently but smartly. And they also have to make sure, of course, that they are not going to be putting in too much aggression over the course of these laps, because, of course, it is going to be a tough one. They know that, but they're going to have to work incredibly hard to stay clean, to stay focused, and to stay out of each other's bumpers, because that's the last thing you want, is to finish in the top 6 and then lose it due to a nose cone fairing penalty or a driving standards penalty or something along those lines. So this is an important race for the drivers. They've got to stay focused, they've got to stay very calm, and they've got to be incredibly prepared. This is not one of those races where you can just go in and hope. You have to be very meticulous, particularly if you're starting the race from the top 10 and you know the drivers you've got behind you are of top caliber, because they're going to be fighting their way through whatever happens. This is pretty much one of the best setups to a second chance race I think I've ever seen, because there are so many drivers, about 12 drivers, who have the ability on paper to be in the top 12 of the pre-final grid, never mind the second chance heat. So this is going to be an interesting one for all of the drivers concerned. They will be fighting big time to work their way forward. It will be tough, it will be tense, and that's what's great about it. So we're in the final few seconds before the racing gets underway again. And this is going to be a tough one, as we know, because there's going to be at least 10 drivers in the field who could win this race, at least 30 of them who could be in the top 6. And just to keep it even tighter, over the course of qualifying on Friday, there was not a single driver in this field that didn't set a lap time in under 57 seconds. So how on earth do you pick 6 drivers from these 34 who are in the second chance race? Busy? You betcha. Imborg and Porter on the front row, from Mark Kimber and Sebastian Degrand, Carlos Saval-Martin and Noah Ruvers, Tony Hirainen and Thomas Fleming, Martin Hebet and Kevin Stahauer, Masatora Wada and Robin Knudsen, Rivaldo van der Westerleken and Stefan Planchamp, Xavier Hansheim and Ross Hayes, Jona Guvarts and Romain Leroux, Eduardo Cosseteng and Rufus Hunt, Jan-Philippe Springob and Nicolas Bayard, Rafael Villa-Gomez and Harry Barlow, Thana Pongpang Setumnu and Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz, Manuel Goloflatone and Lena Buehler. Enzo Giroud should be there, but is not. Louis Westover in 30th, Gustav Brandin, Evan Becerra, Simon Henrad, and Kamil Donic. So the drivers continuing on around the way. So there are actually 33 drivers in this race, not 34, due to Enzo Giroud not starting. But there's going to be a really exciting battle for these guys as they continue to charge their way forward. Now, is this going to be a clean sweep for the guys in the top 4 positions? I doubt it, really, because although they've got the talent to be at the front without issue, it's just too close to call. There are so many top drivers in this field, and it will be so close throughout. They're on the second of 2 formation laps here, and then they will form up and run around in their rows for the starting grid. So this is going to be a very interesting battle. Who is going to get the victory? 33 drivers battling it out for the top 6 places. Only the top 6 go through, and this is their last chance to get it right. This is their last chance to put all their demons at the door and go hell for leather in the hope that when they cross the line, they will be in the top 6. Expect overtaking aplenty, battles by the dozen, and potentially a little bit of fisticuffs as well, as drivers get desperate and impatient and try and move their way forward. But hopefully the standards will be high and clean, and there will be a spectacular race out of it. Yesterday's X30 mini race, I think everybody will not disagree with the fact that that was the best race we have seen thus far this season. Senior X30 second chance heat, it's up to you guys to prove us wrong. Can you do a better job than that? I was talking with Sten Dorian Pidemarki this morning of the Super Shifters, and he said, I still can't believe the X30 Mini was the best race of the weekend thus far. I joked with him, well, why don't you let Kevin Ludi through a few times and then spice it up a bit more? He didn't seem to like that idea somehow. So here they come. The rolling start for the second chance heat in Senior X30s. 33 drivers going to battle. 6 of them can go through to the pre-final. Let's find out who it'll be. Terrific start. An absolutely great battle. There's 11 laps to go. And here we go, straight away into the first corner. Thomas Imborg having a magnificent scrap out in front. He has taken an early lead. And they're in second position. We still have a good chance further forward. As the rest of the battle is coming through, it looks clean for the moment. Several drivers coming through in the far end, but it looks a little bit jostly as the 299 gets a little bit of a bump on the wheel there. So that is Evan Bachera. He's just about got away with that one. Looks like we've got somebody spat out on their own at the back, but the racers are coming through. And at the lead of the race, it is Thomas Imborg, still there in first position, in front of Mark Kimber and Carlos Saval-Martin. So he is there in third position. Morgan Porter, I think it is, in fourth place in the M Sport karting card. So once again, the drivers on that inside line getting a really good start in comparison to those on the outside line, as we've seen several times here this weekend already. But Thomas Imborg is your leader. Kimber in second place. Third is Carlos Saval-Martin, who's going for the move on the inside into second place. So Saval-Martin gets into second. Kimber is still there in third. Then it's Porter, De Grand, Hirainen, Ruvers, Martin, Hebet, Masato Awada, Robin Knudsen, and Thomas Fleming. And Kimber's going for second place straight away into turn 4. So Kimber is through. Nicely done. Kimber in front, Carlos Saval-Martin, and Morgan Porter in fourth position. Great job. Really exciting battle. So on the far side, it's Thomas Imborg who's got himself a bit of a gap, but now these guys in second, third, fourth, Kimber, Saval-Martin, Porter, and fifth place, Sebastien Degrand. They need to work together now to charge their way forward. They've got to try and get into this gap on Thomas Imborg if they want to secure their places. It's all going to be very close mark after that, as the drivers will continue to battle away. Some of them will know, of course, by this point that it's very unlikely for them to win the race. So now they are just going to be trying to win their private battle. Imborg still running well. Kimber second. Saval-Martin in third. Porter still fourth from De Grand and Hirainen. Those are the 6 going through at the moment, but that is almost certainly going to change. The drivers continue to make progress forward. A lot of great racing from the drivers in the front end of the field expected. And now we're going to get a big lunge as up the inside goes Morgan Porter. Catches Carlos Saval-Martin out. And up the inside, is that going to be De Grand through? No, De Grand does not get through. So that's tightened up the field once again. Tony Hirainen now under severe pressure from Noah Ruvers and Martin Hebet. Masato Awada's come up to 9th position, up 2 places. Robin Knudsen's on the move as well, just outside the top 10. Ross Hayes has made up 4 places thus far. Dana Pongpang Satomnu is up to 18th place. The Thai driver really working his craft there. An absolutely superb performance. So right on the far side of the circuit now, Mark Kimber chasing down Thomas Imborg, and it looks like Imborg and Kimber are going to have an absolutely terrific run off the final turn. Kimber's reading him in. This is going to be an absolutely terrific battle as Imborg tries his best to get away from Mark Kimber. 8 laps to go. So Kimber up towards turn 2, looking for an opportunity to get through. And third position, Morgan Porter from Carlos Saval-Martin. 5th position, Tony Hirainen, having got past Sebastien Degrand now. And Degrand is under some pressure for that 6th position run from Noah Ruvers and Martin Hebet. Martin Hebet is on the move. He's got up into 7th position. He's looking for a chance to get through in a 6th. But he's got to do some work with his countryman Noah Ruvers. They've got to work together to catch up with Tony Hirainen if they want to get there. Very clean racing so far in the Senior X30 second chance final. Great to see. Brilliant overtakes, great battles, but no fisticuffs. Absolutely brilliant stuff. So Thomas Imborg, Mark Kimber, Morgan Porter, Carlos Saval-Martin, Sebastien Degrand, Tony Hirainen, and Martin Hebet in the leading group of the race, with Noah Ruvers in there as well. Thomas Fleming trying to close up. Here comes Mark Kimber for the lead. He's going to dive up the inside. 7 laps to go and into turn 1. Mark Kimber hits the front for the first time this weekend. It may only be in the second chance heat, but that will keep him smiling. A great performance from Mark Kimber. Thomas Imborg in second position. Third is Morgan Porter at the moment from Carlos Saval-Martin. Still there in front of Sebastien Degrand and Tony Hirainen. The battle is on for 7th position. We've got 4 of them at it at the moment. It's Martin Hebet, Noah Rivers, Thomas Fleming and Masato Awada all having a terrific scrap for 7th position. But that's not going to be good enough. They need to work together to focus on 6th position because the top 6 are breaking away in clear. And now Thomas Imborg's gap to Mark Kimber is still very small, but because they've swapped positions, the 3rd position battle is closing in. Porter, Saval-Martin, Degrand and Hirainen very close behind the 2 leaders. And there's a move from Carlos Saval-Martin on the exit of turn 16 and through into 3rd place. Really well-timed move there from Carlos Saval-Martin. I didn't think anybody could make that kind of overtaking move on the exit of the corner, but he stuck into his guns there and brilliantly done. Up the inside comes Hirainen to try and get past Degrand. He can't make it through. So Hirainen stays in 6th position. Degrand's having a look on the inside of Porter. Can't make that move stick either. Great racing further back, and oh, it looks as though the 2:14, Robin Knudsen's gone for a bit of a rodeo, losing a place there to Stefan Planchamp, who I think was very dictatorial in the way he got through there on the inside. Poor Knudsen really didn't have much of a chance in that one. We're on the halfway lap 6 of 11, 5 done, and after this one there'll be 5 to go. And that's Tony Harainen about to lose the place. He has got the place done there. A very nice bit of overtaking from the 284, getting through. Noah Ruvers books his place in the grand finals there as they continue to battle through into the pre-final next time out. Noah Ruvers looks like he's going to get there, but unfortunately, it looks as though Tony Harainen might struggle if he remains where he is. 5 laps to go. Kimber, Imborg, Seval Martin, Porter, Degrand and Ruvers. Those are the 6 who are likely to go through at the moment, but we're not done yet. There's still 5 laps to go. Mark Kimber hanging on in front of Thomas Imborg, Carlos Seval Martin, Morgan Porter, Sebastian Degrand working with him to close up on the top 3, and then there's 2 men scrapping for 6th place, Noah Ruvers and Tony Harainen. 8th position, Thomas Fleming, has just the fastest first sector of anybody in this race. So Thomas Fleming is not done yet either. He wants to close up, and he's doing a great job to get there. He's got a bit of time on his hands as well. He's got 4.5 laps to close up. We've got somebody off at that section of the circuit. We seem to have lost a few drivers. We lost Simon Henrad and Xavier Hansheim, and 2 retirements in Romain Leroux and Kevin Stahauer. So I'm guessing that's both of them out on the spot. Yes, it is. Both karts there together. So Leroux and Stahauer up the inside. That is a move from Sebastian Degrand into 4th position, but he drifts out wide. Morgan Porter's going to get him straight back again. So Morgan Porter through into 4th position. What that does, though, is tighten up 6th and 7th places as Porter signals to the man behind him, Sebastian Degrand, just work with me. Let's go after the guys in front. But what that's done, that swap of positions twice over, is now Noah Ruvers and Tony Harainen are right in the mix. 3 drivers at the front of the field, and Thomas Imborg's gone for the lead on Kimber, and he's through. Carlos Seval Martin through as well. So Kimber down to 3rd position, and that tightens up the gaggle once more. Morgan Porter now in 4th position with a chance to go for the top 3. So now there is 8 of them, make it nearly 11 of them now battling for positions, because Thomas Fleming is right on the back of Tony Harainen. Imborg defending from Carlos Seval Martin. Mark Kimber's looking for a way to get the undercut. This is exactly what we thought would happen. Masatora Wada's making his way through the field as well now. He's got past Martin a bit. And look at this. Down the middle of the straight, we've got Thomas Imborg in front of Carlos Seval Martin, Mark Kimber, Morgan Porter, Degrand, Ruvers, Harainen, Fleming, Wada and Hebet. And they're all squabbling for positions now as they make their way through. Imborg, Seval Martin and Kimber still there. Seval Martin goes for the lead. Kimber's going to get through as well. Porter's going to get through as well into 3rd position. Contact as Imborg tries to come back across, but Porter's already there. Oh, and up down to 5th position now goes Thomas Imborg. Sebastian Degrand up into 4th place. So now it's Seval Martin, Kimber, Porter, Degrand and Imborg with 6th position. Noah Ruvers trying to come through, but he's got challenge now from Tony Harainen and Thomas Fleming. Fleming goes up the inside, takes 7th place. Good move from Thomas Fleming. He gets into that P7. Now that's the crucial position. Can Tom Fleming now close up on the top 6 and make his way into the pre-final? He's got to work a little bit harder now for the last 2 laps of the race, but there's a chance, and he knows it. Seval Martin defends into the first corner with Kimber there in 2nd place. So Carlos Seval Martin leads the way. Mark Kimber's going for the lead, but Seval Martin moves to cover. That brings Morgan Porter closer. Degrand in 4th place. Then in 5th position, it is still Thomas Imborg. And now 6th position, that is Fleming. Fleming is through into 6th place. So Fleming, Harainen, Ruvers, Wada and Hebet are all in the mix. But Thomas Fleming is now in 6th position. It's Noah Ruvers who's gone backwards. So Fleming up into 6th position. That is the critical position, but he's got Tony Harainen of Finland right behind him. So there's a long way to go for Fleming to get this race done, unless he can make one more overtake on Thomas Imborg. If he can do that, that's pretty much secured his place on the back row. But Carlos Seval Martin still leads the race from Kimber, Porter, Degrand, Imborg and Fleming, with Tony Harainen trying his best to catch them. This is his last chance now. He's got to make it happen. Last lap, here we go. This is the last lap for at least 20 or so drivers in this weekend, but 6 of them are going to get lucky. Tom Fleming's got a good run on Imborg up towards turn 2 to book his place with 5th position, and he needs to get there because Tony Harainen is close. Is there going to be a change of position? Yes, Fleming's going to get up the inside, and Harainen's going to get through as well. Harainen's going to get past Fleming. Fleming runs round the outside and holds on to it. What a big move from Fleming. And now through into 6th position comes Mariembourg back again. But he's been followed in there by Noah Rouvers. So it's a great tussle. So Fleming is through into 5th position, but now Mariembourg is hanging on to 6th position for dear life in front of Noah Rouvers. Rouvers is trying to come through, but there is going to be an absolutely terrific final battle. But out in front, it is going to be Carlos Saval Martin, the Spaniard, who's going to get there. Harainen's going to have a look to come through. We'll find out who gets there. Saval Martin wins it. Kimber second from Porter de Grand, Fleming, and it's going to be Rouvers. Rouvers gets there to the final spot. Oh, so tight. Well, 6 of them got there. Carlos Saval Martin with the victory. Mark Kimber with 2nd. Morgan Porter with 3rd. Sebastian de Grand with 5th. Thomas Fleming, a tiger's drive to 5th position. Great result for Tom Fleming. And in 6th place, Noah Rouvers holds off the challenge. Found his way past Thomas Mariembourg in the final couple of corners. But that was a close one. And Carlos Saval Martin, after 15 kilometres of racing, has done the business. Gets the job done there, the Spaniard. Great performance. Saval Martin, Kimber, Porter, de Grand, Fleming and Rouvers are the provisional 6 who go through to the pre-final. Thomas Mariembourg, Tony Harainen and Stefan Planchamp are next from Martin Hevet and Masato Rawada and Rivaldo van der Westerleken in 12th place. Ross Hayes came back to 13th from Jana Guvarts and Jan-Philipp Springhoff. Louis Westover in 16th from the unfortunate Robin Knudsen, Eduardo Cosseteng and Rafael Villa-Gomez. Gustav Brandin, Thanapong Paxatumno, Rufus Hunt, Nicolas Bayart, Harry Barlow in 24th from Manel Goloflatorne, Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz, Camille Donich, Evan Bachera, and Lena Bueller out of the race, unfortunately, as was Roman Leroux and Kevin Stahauer. So it was a non-start in the end from 2 of the Belgians, Xavier Hansheim and Simon Henrard. And now, of course, we move on to the Comet Cup, which is for the drivers in the Senior X30 who were not able to make it through to the last chance race. And it'll be an interesting battle with several drivers wanting to finish their weekends on a high note.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So the battle is going to be a very interesting one for the Comet Cup. Great to see everybody watching along on the Telemundi Media live stream on YouTube. If you have any questions, do please send us to them. We will try our best to send them to us, I should say, sorry. We will try our best to get them answered. We are live on Telemundi Media's live YouTube stream, and we are live on the Spreaker radio application app for Downforce UK. So the coverage is being live broadcast and recorded in both video and audio. And of course, we are live trackside here at the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway in Belgium. Now, one of the questions has come in on YouTube. Why Kimber so slow? Well, basically, Mark Kimber wasn't here on the Friday practice session day because he was studying for his exams back in the United Kingdom. So he was not able to get here until very late Friday evening, which means he basically had an entire day of testing wiped. So in effect, he's had to work very hard to make his way further back through the field. But to be fair to Mark Kimber, he's done an absolutely cracking job considering he's had absolutely no testing coming into this weekend, other than about a week ago when the weather conditions were very different. So Mark Kimber, to be fair, has actually worked very hard to get into second place in the second chance race, because with no testing, when everybody else has gone out and done 15 or 16 miles worth of racing over the course of the morning at least, then it's very, very tricky to figure out, how to get the kart set up exactly how you want it and to be at that same level and the pace of the rest of the other drivers. Clayton Ravenscroft had exactly the same difficulties in Senior X30. He just happened to be able to get back on the pace just a little bit quicker than Mark Kimber. It's very difficult when you haven't had that full day of testing on the Friday to come into, but full credit to the RGMMC people who gave them an extra bit of testing on the Saturday morning yesterday for the Senior X30s to get a little bit more up to speed. So those drivers across Europe who did have examinations to do on the Friday did not have to miss them and still had a good opportunity to get things done. So we now come into the Comet Cup. This is for the drivers who were not able to make it into the second chance race. This is basically to give them one more race for the weekend and give them something to shoot for. and a nice way to end their weekend. And this is going to be an interesting battle. We don't have many drivers in it, of course, but we're definitely going to have some good racing. It looks as though only 5 of them are electing to take the start. And that is going to be Anthony Moonen, the number 319, who will take the race for this one. Alongside him, Tom Nellison, his countryman, the Belgian. Rachid Ghanem is going to be on the grid along with Jack Tomerlin. And then we think it is going to be the Brit Leonardo Paniautu, who's also going to be on the grid. So there will be non-starts from Liam Hezemans, from Henke Kalteren, and obviously non-starts as well from the drivers who didn't even make it to the weekend. Kilian Belair, Max Pilker, and Fabio Kiltica, who all put in entries but were not, sadly, participants. So it looks like it's going to be between Moonen, Nillison, Ghanem, Tomerlin and Paniautu for the Comet Cup. They want one final race. And the thing is, you're looking at me and looking at the screen thinking, it's only a race of 5 people. What's the point of it? Well, it is a very good point of it because it gives these guys experience. It's obviously good knowledge, good data. Every time you go out on the kart, it does give you more to do. It gives you more to learn. You can never learn too much in the world of senior karting, particularly at this level, at the European Championships, when everything is very, very tight and intense. And don't think this is going to be a boring race because there's only 5 people in it. These guys are very closely matched in terms of lap times, and they will all want to walk away from this as the winner of the Comet Cup. So they will want to get this done. They've got to work very hard indeed to get there. They know that. So it's going to be a tough race, whatever happens. And it's really going to test their strength in cool, calm conditions as well, because they've basically got a very easy looking battle on their hands because you only got to be the first of 5 drivers home. But all of these guys are determined. They all want to be at the front. They all want to finish their weekends with a victory. And all of them are going to do everything they possibly can to be on the top spot. So Anthony Moonen, Tom Nellison, Rachid Ghanem, Jack Tomerlin and Leonardo Paniautu are going to be the 5 drivers who take up the start. The other 5 have elected not to do so. But for these 5, there's a battle to win. And they will go for it. And they will learn an awful lot from doing so. Because this is a tough circuit, Mariembourg. Very different to the Salisbury circuit we had 8 weeks ago. With a lot of fast straights and sweeping long apexes. This is a tighter, twistier, more complex racetrack. And these guys will be learning an awful lot from every single time they go out there. Plus, of course, a lot of the drivers, they just love the sport of karting. If there's a race to race in, why wouldn't you race in it? I would if it was me. Fortunately for everybody out there, it isn't, because that would be a rather embarrassing sight, wouldn't it? Anyway, Anthony Moonen, Tom Nellison, Rachid Ghanem, Jack Tomerlin and Leonardo Paniautu go out onto the circuit. The other 5 drivers, Liam Hezemans, Kilian Belair, Henke Kalteren, Fabio Kiltica and Max Pilker have elected not to take the start. So they will be continuing on next time out, hopefully, when we go to Wackersdorf in Germany in a little under 5 weeks' time. That will be when we go to the beautiful Wackersdorf circuit in Germany for the 3rd round of the championship. But for Moonen, Nillison, Ghanem, Tomerlin and Paniautu, this will be an interesting and very tough battle for them to finish off their weekend in a strong form. And after this race, of course, we will go into our pre-finals, and they will be the 4 second most important races of the weekend, because, of course, these guys will be pushing very hard to gain as much traction and as much in terms of grid position as they possibly can. So while the officials are making sure we have the correct drivers in the pre-finals for each of the junior and senior X30 categories, the X30 Mini and Super Shifters are already well decided, of course. These guys will give the fans some entertainment as they battle around the circuit for the Comet Cup. Anthony Moonen, Tom Nellison, Rachid Ghanem, Jack Tomerlin and Leonardo Paniautu. 2 Brits, 2 Belgians and the Lebanese of Rachid Ghanem. So, who is going to win this tough battle? They'll take as long as they possibly can to get the tyres and brakes up to temperature on this second formation lap. But Anthony Moonen and Tom Nellison have a bit of an advantage here because they've grown up on this racetrack here at Mariembourg. They know this circuit very well. Rachid Ghanem has a good opportunity because he seems to have very steely nerves in a crisis. He knows how to push his way forward. He's just one of those drivers who's been caught out with bad luck yet again. He had a couple of DNFs yesterday, which is the reason why he is in the Comet Cup, effectively. Jack Tomerlin in the M Sport kart had absolutely no luck at all, and a similar problem for him with his teammate Rachid Ghanem. So both of these drivers should effectively have been in the second chance race at the very least. And then, of course, you've got Leonardo Paniautu, the BMR driver, who again has really struggled all weekend to get up to speed, but has had plenty of discipline to move his way forward. So Moonen, Nellison, Ghanem, Tomerlin and Paniautu taking up the start of this race in the Comet Cup. as the drivers will battle away for supremacy for the final race of their weekend, and each of them will want to do the best job they possibly can in this warm-up to the pre-finals and finals. The next 8 races will be the serious ones for championship points in each of the 4 classes. So let's have a bit of a shindig with these 5. Moonen, Nillison, Ganem, Tomlin and Paniotto. Up the revs rise, and let's race! Good start at the front. It looks as though Ganem's already going to try and make a beeline for the first corner, but he's not going to get there. There's a little bit of contact between him and Nillison, and that's going to put Anthony Moonen out in front. No problem at all. Up in his second place now has come Rashid Ganem. He's made the move. Through in the third position has come his teammate Jack Tomlin, and Leonardo Paniotto has gone through past the man at the front of the field. 3:15 there. Leonardo Paniotto trying to come through and take the place of Tom Nillison. And I think he has now got the move done. So up at the 4th place has come Leonardo Paniotto. So it's Moonen, Nellison, get him. Oh, and a big hustle between those two as they battle away for 4th place. And no nonsense there at all from Tom Nellison as he gets his way back past the man in 4th position initially, Leonardo Paniotto. So as they make their way through the S's, it's a great start from Anthony Moonen, who leads the way here from Rashid Ganem and Jack Tomlin. Leonardo Paniotto desperately trying to get back past Tom Nellison. And it looks to me as though he's going to have a hard job of it. Nellison will not want to lose this ground. Over the crest of the hill they come once again, and through to the rest of the race. 10 laps to go. As there is your man in the lead of the race. He's trying to get out a bit of a gap here and spread out in front of his main rival in this race, Rashid Ganem. But Ganem is not having to work quite as hard as Anthony Moonen is, because, of course, he is cutting through the air much smarter than Anthony Moonen is, who's the first one on track. So he's cutting his way through the air. And that's where this new Nassau, the new nose, is going to be very interesting for Rashid Ganem, because he's going to be following in pursuit of Anthony Moonen. He's the one of 3 drivers, I think it is, in this race who is using them. His M Sport teammate is as well, getting a little bit of a hurry up there from Tom Nellison, Jack Tomlin, and he is going to go through into 3rd position, but I'm not sure Jack Tomlin's going to think very kindly to the way Tom Nellison did that. But because they've got those new OTK Nassaus on the front end of the carts with the groove up the middle, that's going to be an interesting way of seeing if this is going to make any advantage, because obviously they're going to be in pursuit of another driver, and that's where one of the benefits of this new Nassau comes from. So let's see if it's going to work. Into the top end of the course, your race leader is still Anthony Moonen. Rashid Ganem trying to chase him down. 3rd place is now Tom Nellison, having got past Jack Tomlin and Leonardo Paniotto. Fastest in the first sector is Tom Nellison. Nellison going well here in 3rd position to try and get himself back onto that front row once again. But he really needs to nail these apexes every single time. He needs to keep resolutely pushing and digging to try and get on terms with the Lebanese driver Rashid Ganem. The 2 Brits are now at the back of the field, Jack Tomlin and Leonardo Paniotto. But they're going to squabble together, and they will know each other of old, of course, because they've been racing with each other for a few years in the Nationals Championships. Now they're going to try their best to continue forward here in the European Championships to move forward into the top 3 in the Comet Cup, but they're going to have to work very hard to get close on terms with Tom Nellison, who's gone purple in the 2nd sector as well. So Tom Nellison is working hard as Leonardo Paniotto makes the move on the inside there of Jack Tomlin, and Paniotto goes up into 4th position, actually beats him to the line on the way down the straight. He was 0.014 ahead of Tomlin at the timing beacon, so that puts him into 4th position, no problem at all. But the man on the move here really is Tom Nellison, a 57.125 lap time. Fastest again in the first sector, Tom Nellison, as he chases after Rashid Ganem. He is pushing hard here to try and close up. This race is definitely not done. He has caught Rashid Ganem, look, and now there's an opportunity for Tom Nellison, who is feeling quite aggrieved at the way he was nerfed down to 5th position initially. No, I'm not taking that. I'm not standing for 5th position. This is my back garden, boys. I'm going for it. So into 2nd position he is looking to go, but Rashid Ganem is hanging on to it at the moment, hoping that his new Nassau on the front of the car, you can see there with a long groove in the middle, that groove is deep enough to fit an arm through, and hopefully it's deep enough to get good traction and good aero off the kart in front as he cuts through the air a little bit more efficiently with the front end. That's supposed to correct a little bit of imbalance and understeer and correct the airflow, make it a little bit faster to go through. Some drivers say they like it, others say they have not seen any benefit. Up the inside goes Tom Nellison. Well, I wonder if after this one Rashid Ganem's going to be one of the latter crowd. Maybe there is no benefit from my point of view, but he is pushing hard. And can he get back on terms with Tom Nellison? Lap 5 of 11, and he's going to work once again to try and cut down the Belgian barrier of Anthony Moonen and Tom Nellison at the front of the field. So Rashid Ghanem, the Lebanese driver for the M Sport karting team back in the UK, pushing hard to try and get himself into the top 3 once again, with Leonardo Paniotto of the BMR BTCC squad there in 4th position, and then it is Jack Tomlin in 5th position. They come onto the main straight once again, and it doesn't look to me as though Rashid Ghanem's backing down from the fight. He's looking to use that new Nassau to gain a little bit more speed. 6 to go as we reach the half-distance lap 6. But it's still Anthony Moonen hanging on in the lead of the race. He's not seemingly pushing too hard at the moment. He's just staying consistent with his times. Now he's getting on with it, because I think he's looked behind him and realised, oh, cripes alive, that's Tom Nellison behind me. I'm going to get on with this now. I know what he can do. So he's gone fastest of all in the first sector. Into the second sector they come, and Anthony Moonen will want to try and get further away from Tom Nellison, who's definitely closing on him. Goodness me, breathing down his neck. Despite the fact that Moonen just went fastest of all in the first sector, Nellison is a lot closer to Anthony Moonen than he will want him to be, but Nellison's very strong in that middle sector, and to prove the point, he's just gained back a whole 1/10 of a second on Anthony Moonen just in that sector. So this is not done by any means. Anthony Moonen has got Tom Nellison breathing down his neck, and if those two get into a scrap, then Rashid Ghanem is right there to poison Pounce for all that victory. So Moonen, Nellison, Ghanem, Paniotto and Tomlin. But it's not done yet. A long way to go. 5 laps to go. Is Anthony Moonen going to be able to resist the pressure from Tom Nellison, who is chipping away at that advantage little by little? Anthony Moonen, again, fastest of all in the first sector. But Nellison is right underneath him as he continues to push. We are seriously getting into the business end of this race, and Anthony Moonen is going to have to work incredibly hard to keep Tom Nellison behind him. And Rashid Ghanem could just sit there in 3rd position, using the aero benefits of his Nassau to just sit there in 3rd place and watch them battle and look for an opening. And Rashid Ghanem has just set the fastest second sector that he has set. In fact, Rashid Ghanem is on his personal best lap right now and using the aero flow of the karts in front to good advantage here. Down over the straight once again. Moonen comes through. Last lap, 57.176. Nellison, a 57.112. Rashid Ghanem, a 57.061. So Ghanem is actually faster than both the drivers in front of him. So Ghanem is not done yet at all. In fact, if anything, he's just stepping up his attack right now. Tucked up behind Tom Nellison. And again, in that first sector, Rashid Ghanem is the fastest of the 3 of them. So this is going to be a race that goes right down to the wire between these 3. The other 2 behind, unfortunately, a bit more spread out, but Leonardo Paniotto seems to have made light work of Jack Tomlin, and he's now trying to catch these 3. Plenty of curb being used by Tom Nellison in his bid to overtake Anthony Moonen, but Moonen is really going to struggle to hold him on there. Look, he's twitching around all over the place, into the left and right hairpins. He needs to keep this well balanced and well settled, but this is going to be very tough indeed, and he knows it. Up out of the turn they come once again, and onto the main straight. Moonen, Nellison and Ghanem. Is Ghanem going to get an opportunity here? They look through that first corner once again. Anthony Moonen still hangs on in front of Tom Nellison, but Nellison is definitely reeling him in and getting closer. Rashid Ghanem just preserving the tyres a little bit, although in that 3rd sector, Rashid Ghanem was the fastest of all. So, over the course of the 3 sectors, we have 3 completely different fastest drivers. Ghanem is fastest in the 3rd sector. Nellison is fastest in the 2nd sector. Moonen is fastest in the 1st sector. It could be any one of these 3 who takes the victory, but Rashid Ghanem in particular needs to stay hungry as Nellison gets the move. Nellison gets through and takes Anthony Moonen. So for the first time in this race, Tom Nellison hits the front. How about that? He was in 5th place at one point. Now, Tom Nellison is leading. Anthony Moonen has been well and truly scarpered there, but now Moonen is going to try again and have a little bit of a look. He's trying to work his magic up the inside there. They're going to go side by side. Oh, this is going to be a tight battle between these 3 as they come through, and they've just got 2 laps to go. Now Anthony Moonen is going to try and sell Tom Nellison the derby, and watch for Rashid Ghanem. Watch for Rashid Ghanem. He's going to come up the inside and move to 2nd place. Good work from Ghanem. Smartly done there for the Lebanese. He is through in a 2nd position, but here comes Anthony Moonen back once again. Now Ghanem needs to switch back, but look at what space that's given to Tom Nellison. Now Ghanem's going to try and get back through on the inside. He's through in a 2nd position, and that has allowed Tom Nellison to scarper out in front and disappear with a beautiful gap already. My goodness, that was an open playing field for the victory. Now it's a squabble for second place between Rashid Ghanem and Anthony Moonen. But Tom Nellison, who was dead last at one point, has fought his way back one by one. He picked off Tomalin, he picked off Panayotou, he picked off Rashid Ghanem, and now he's picked off Anthony Moonen, and now he's picked it up and run away with it. One lap to go, and Tom Nellison has got this race nailed to the mast, but Ghanem is going to have tough work of hanging on to this second place. That is for sure. So Anthony Moonen's going to try one couple more tricks in the book, maybe. One more time with feeling. Up towards turn 4. Nellison getting away, but Ghanem still has Anthony Moonen breathing down his neck. If there's a chance to come through, he's going to find it through the left-hander, up towards the long left-right flick. Up towards that long sweeping right-hander we come now, and it's going to be close. Ghanem's definitely still hanging on in front of Anthony Moonen, but the Lebanese driver's got good first sector times. He's actually quicker than Anthony Moonen at the moment, so even though Moonen's pushing hard, I don't think he's quite got enough. Ghanem is faster in both of the first sectors, but what about this boy? Tom Nellison has put on an absolutely cracking display. 5th at one point, fought his way to 4th, to 3rd, to 2nd, and now to 1st. He's run away and clinches it. Brilliant drive. Tom Nellison. Well, who said a 5-car race was boring? It certainly isn't here. Tom Nellison fights his way through to a supreme victory. Rashid Ghanem comes through for 2nd place, and 3rd position for Anthony Moonen in front of Jack Tomalin and Leonardo Panayotou. Absolutely sensational drive from Tom Nellison. Okay, he will feel disappointed that he wasn't in the second chance heat, especially after a drive as strong and convincing as that one. But at least he can walk away from Mariembourg on home soil with his head held high. Having dropped to the back, he worked his way to the front. Very beautifully indeed as well. Tom Nellison wins from Rashid Ghanem, Anthony Moonen and Jack Tomalin in front of Leonardo Panayotou. So Tom Nellison, the Belgian, walks away from his home race weekend with a victory in the IAME X30 European Series Comic Cup for the X30 Seniors in front of Ghanem, Moonen, Tomalin and Panayotou. And the next race on the bill, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the first of our serious challenges for the victory itself. It's all done in terms of qualifying heats and last chances. Now we come into the first race of the weekend that is actually for championship points. So we are going to be going into the X30 Minis now after what's been a very strong start to the season at Salisbury's 8 weeks ago. We are now here for the second round of the championship and the pre-final for the X30 Minis. It's going to be a really exciting battle between these guys because we still, at this point, don't really know which driver has the upper hand over the other. We'll tell you the story in just a couple of minutes' time, but what an amazing battle this is going to be. Tell everybody you know, share it all over social media, get them watching, because this race yesterday, the X30 Minis, was one of the best races I've ever seen, and it's sure to be just as spicy here today.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
Well, time for the greatest show in town. The X30 mini race yesterday had everybody watching and absolutely glued to the rafters, glued to their screens, sat on their seats in absolute intrepidation, bouncing up and down on some cases. We had an absolutely terrific scrap yesterday, and it really was absolutely joyous to watch. One of the best races I have ever seen. We had 3 qualifying heats yesterday, one by Kimi Abraham, the first, the second by Miguel Pero Lozaraga. But I tell you what, that victory in qualifying Heat 3 yesterday of the X30 Minis, genuinely, I don't mind putting my hand on my heart and saying that was one of the greatest races I think I've ever seen in the world of karting. Nathan Otting eventually coming through for the victory, but there were several drivers who took turns at the front of that 6-lap race. 11 times the lead changed over the course of that 6-lap enduro. An absolutely amazing encounter. Miguel Pero Rosaraga, Ruben Volt, Sergio Ruiz, Kimi Abraham and Lucas Flusha Cross all all part of that epic battle, with several drivers making a play for the victories as well. And incredibly, third position over the line yesterday ended up being Alejandro Melendez-Pardi, but unfortunately he was given a time penalty. But what an amazing scrap. We had so many drivers battling away for the victory, and that means that for my money, in this X30 mini contest today, there are 7 drivers who could win this final. I'm genuinely convinced of that. We've got Nathan Ottink on pole position, Miguel Pérez Lozaraga on pole position. Nathan Ottink won the last race of yesterday. He's there on the second row, just behind Miguel Pérez Lozaraga. On that front row, alongside the Spaniard, is the Belgian talent Kimi Abraham, who took the first win yesterday. Also in the mix is going to be the ever-popular and ever-talented Ruben Volt, the Dan Holland racing driver for Estonia. Sergio Ruiz and Lucas Flusha-Cross makes it an all-Spanish third row. Then we have the local talents of Patrice Kowalewski and Amaury Mertens from Belgium. Alejandro Melendez will start from 9th position on the grid, and he's one to charge his way forward. Gabriel Bectas in 10th position from the Filipino racer William Go, the Spaniard Bogdan Ianut-Bria, and then the Belgian Angelo Melli. So it's going to be very, very tough and very close. But I think there's going to be 7 drivers in the mix for this victory, and 9 of them can get on the podium, in my point of view. Very, very tough as well. And in fact, actually, I'll go further than that and say that we could have any one of those drivers on the podium, because we've seen flashes of brilliance from each of them. But from that front of the grid, it's going to have to be very difficult for Miguel Pérez Lozaraga to be beaten today on pure pace. He's always been one of those drivers right at the front. But Kimi Abraham, alongside him on that front row of the grid, has already beaten him once this weekend, as has Nathan Ottink. So those 3 drivers are in the top 3 positions on the starting grid. You've also got to keep an eye on the 2 Spaniards right behind them. It's going to be really interesting to see if Lucas Flusha-Cross and Sergio Ruiz can come through. But then there's also that man in 4th position, Ruben Volt, ever solid, ever consistent. And then Alejandro Melendez, down in 9th on the grid. But don't forget, he won in Salbris and fought his way back brilliantly in the 3rd race yesterday to finish 3rd on the road. Had he not had a penalty, he'd be starting even further up than where he is. So from 9th on the grid, Melendez could be the dark horse for this one. He's definitely going to be a challenger. There's at least 7 drivers who could win this race over the course of the weekend. There are at least, a dozen of them. I'd say even all 13 of them could end up on the podium. It is going to be very, very tough to call a winner, and the battle is going to be incredibly exciting to watch. And I notice how all of a sudden people have realised that the Mini X30 pre-final is coming on, and all of a sudden the live stream has shot up to very nearly 100 people watching. This is going to be a really good race. It was yesterday. It's absolutely fantastic. So somebody's saying online, how do I stay up to date with all these karting competitions? Well, all you have to do is follow the website, IAMEEuroseries.com. And of course, you can follow what happens via Facebook as well. If you type IAME X30 Euro Series into Facebook and like and subscribe to it, then you'll keep up to date with all of the action as it happens. It's going to be a really exciting battle, this one. And here we go. Time for some cracking racing from the second round of the IAME X30 European Series. Miguel Pérez Lozaraga and Kimi Abraham on the X30 Mini front row. Nathan Ottink and Ruben Volt of the Netherlands and Estonia. An all-Spanish third row for Sergio Ruiz and Lucas Flusha-Cross. An all-Belgian fourth row for Kowalewski and Amaury Mertens, the local favourites. Alejandro Melendez and Gabriel Bectas line up on the 5th row of the grid from Filipino William Go, Spaniard Bogdan Bria Ianut, and in 13th position we have Angelo Melli. So keep an eye on the drivers in this battle. 13 of them as they race together. Yesterday, as I said, across the 6-lap heat, we had 11 changes for the lead between 4 different drivers. Absolutely terrific stuff and great racing yesterday. If that can be repeated today, we'll be very happy indeed. But we're now in a point of the season when the drivers are really starting to find their feet. They're starting to gain their confidence. And in this first of 2 formation laps, they're trying to warm up the tyres and brakes. They're just gaining a little bit more... what's the term I'm looking for here? They're gathering pace, I suppose, in terms of their development. This second round of the championship, a lot of the drivers who we saw struggle a little bit at Salbris are now starting to get back up to speed once again. And there's going to be some terrific battling from the drivers this time out. Actually, keep an eye on the guy in the third row of the grid, Lucas Fluscher-Cross. I was talking to his father yesterday. He was telling me this is only really his first season in international competition. And he is the 9-year-old Spanish talent who's doing a fantastic job in his home country in the Spanish national championships. But at 9 years old, Lucas Fluscher-Cross is in this X30 mini grid and he's already pounding around with the best of them up at the front end. So if you consider that some of these guys on the grid are already 11 or 12, they are pushing very hard indeed for victory. And Lucas Fluscher-Cross, who's 3 years younger than them, is up in amongst that top 6. So that is very impressive to watch. But now we ask a very difficult question to answer. Who's going to win? I genuinely don't know. After yesterday's race, I could pick absolutely any one of them, and it wouldn't surprise me. Miguel Barros-Araga and Kimi Abraham will be on that front row of the grid, the Spaniard and the Belgian. Nathan Ottink and Ruben Volt, the Dutchman and the Estonian. 4 different nations in the 4 top positions. Then it's an all-Spanish third row, Sergio Ruiz and Lucas Fluscher-Cross. An all-Belgian fourth row, Patrice Kowalewski and Amaury Mertens. And then we have Alejandro Melendez, Gabriel Bektas, William Go, Bogdan Iannurbria and Angelo Melli. It's going to be a really exciting battle as we get ourselves ready for the action once again here in Mariembourg. But these are the races from now on that will dictate championship points. 34 points for the victory, 33 for second, 32 for third, and so on and so on and so on. Let's see how the pre-final goes. Barros-Araga, Abraham, Ottink, Volt, Ruiz and Fluscher-Cross. Here we go, and it's lights out. Let's race at Mariembourg. Right into the first corner. And Miguel Barros-Araga holds the lead early on, but he's already got some pressure from both of them. And contact! Contact! 2 of them come together. That is Abraham and Ottink, and it looks like somebody else has spat out as well. Ruben Volt is the one who ends up getting spat off the circuit. So 3 of the big names have gone already. Ruben Volt down at the back. And that is a big disaster for 2 of the big names in this race, Kimi Abraham and Nathan Ottink. Well, Nathan Ottink is fighting to get his car back onto the circuit, I noticed, but up to second place has come Lucas Fluscher-Cross. Absolutely amazing. The 9-year-old is up in a second place behind his countryman, Miguel Barros-Araga. Well, Kimi Abraham and Nathan Ottink, sadly, their races are pretty much done. Nathan Ottink has got the kart going again, but he is right at the back of the field, and Kimi Abraham is stood at Marshall Post 2 after the first corner. Absolutely devastating. A great start from there. There's Nathan Ottink. He's got going again, but the man who he went in off to the grass with, unfortunately, is out of this race. Here come the leaders over the start-finish line once again. Miguel Barros-Araga leads the way now from Lucas Fluscher-Cross. Third is Amaury Mertens in front of Patrice Kowalewski. The Belgians are having a great run. Then it's Sergio Ruiz, Alejandro Melendez, Gabriel Bektas, William Go, Angelo Melli, Bogdan Iannurbria, and Ruben Volt in front of Nathan Ottink. Well, I think, actually, Ottink has brought the kart. Well, he's still going around the circuit, actually, Nathan Ottink, so he's not done yet. But I have a feeling that it's going to be out of the race because there was a lot of damage to the front end from that kart from the look of it. It certainly went in very hard, the 2 of them together. So Miguel Barros-Araga leads from Lucas Fluscher-Cross. What if the 9-year-old could be the 4th different winner? Well, Ottink has continued, in fact. So it looks as though he's still got a decent kart underneath him. But Miguel Barros-Araga leads the way here from Lucas Fluscher-Cross. The 2 of them are getting away. And these 2 know each other so well, of course, because they've been battling together in the Spanish National Championship as well. So these 2 are very familiar with each other. They know how to go racing with each other, and they'll know who's strong and where to go for the moves. As up the inside, for all the overtaking moves, comes Patrice Kowalewski, making the move back on his countryman, Amaury Mertens. And in 5th place, Sergio Ruiz trying to come through. Now, it looks as though they've got some debris on the inside line. Not entirely sure what that is, but they looked to me like there was something blowing around. Meanwhile, Alejandro Melendez has got past Sergio Ruiz and is up into 5th position. So a cracking start to the weekend then from Alejandro Melendez. Certainly a cracking start to the Sunday for Melendez as he's made up a lot of places there. So Miguel Barros-Araga leads his countryman, Lucas Fluscher-Cross, with Amaury Mertens, Patrice Kowalewski and Alejandro Melendez in the top 5, with Sergio Ruiz, Gabriel Bektas, Angelo Melli, William Go, Bogdan Iannurbria, Ruben Volt and Nathan Ottink giving chase. And Ruben Volt, just trying to see whereabouts he is. Well, he's a few seconds back off the pack, whereas Nathan Ottink is a good half a minute back off the pack. So Miguel Barros-Araga and Lucas Fluscher-Cross are having a good battle. But now Patrice Kowalewski is being very close in behind. Up into third position has come Kovalevsky. Lucas Flusha-Cross defending. Here comes Kovalevsky. Up the inside. Kovalevsky going for second. Lucas Flusha-Cross moves to cover, but Kovalevsky's through. He drifts out wide. Flusha-Cross trying to come back, and he is through. And Kovalevsky's going to lose the place to Melendez. So Melendez has come through into third position. So it looks like both he and Sergio Ruiz made smart work of Amaury Mertens. So very good work from them. Ruben Volt, once again, that steely nerve determination. He's not quitting. He's not giving up. He is a fighter, and he will continue to push on. He's not the kind of person who throws in the towel early. So Volt is still pushing to close up. So now we've got Flusha-Cross back into third position by the look of it. But it is now a tough battle up front. Miguel Pereira versus Patrice Kovalevsky. Kovalevsky knows the circuit. Miguel Pereira is pretty much symbiotic with the kart. So how is this battle going to play out as they complete the half-distance mark at the end of this lap? 4 laps down and 4 to go. Miguel Pereira leading from... No, sorry, that's Lucas Flusha-Cross. So he did get back past Kovalevsky. Kovalevsky in third. Melendez in fourth. Sergio Ruiz in fifth position. The top 5 remain in those positions. 6th is Amaury Mertens. 7th place, that is Gabriel Bektas. Then it's Angelo Melli. Up the inside comes Melendez for third position. And Ruiz is going to get through as well, is he? No. Kovalevsky's got the speed. Ruiz is still there on the inside, but he bails out of the move. So it's now 3 Spaniards at the front. Miguel Pereira, Lucas Flusha-Cross, and Alejandro Melendez Party. And 2 of them are championship battlers all the way through the season thus far. Miguel Pereira and Alejandro Melendez. What a fight back this is from Melendez in third position on the CRG machine. Terrific performance from him here as he finds himself back into third position once more. So they come off the turn, down the short stretch to the hairpin. Miguel Pereira leads the way. Lucas Flusha-Cross in second. Melendez in third position. Fourth now is Kovalevsky. From Sergio Ruiz and Amaury Mertens, Gabriel Bektas, Angelo Melli, the Belgians all in there. From William Goe, Bogdan Unibria, Ruben Volt and Nathan Otting. Now Otting was fastest of all in the first sector, so at least he can get a fastest lap out of this. That's his feeling, and he's not going to lose too many points if he continues on his way. So championship points are still obviously very important for Nathan Otting. And let's not forget that it's 34 for the win, 33 for second, 32 for third. He's looking to finish 12th, so that will give him, by my mathematics, 23 points. So that's still not a bad tally, as Miguel Pereira is having to hold fast in front of Lucas Flusha-Cross, who's getting very hungry for the move and diving up the inside for third position. That is Kovalevsky. Kovalevsky gets through on Melendez. So with 3 laps to go, it's still very tight indeed. Pereira in front of Lucas Flusha-Cross. Flusha-Cross trying to look for a way on the inside. Miguel Pereira moves to cover. Kovalevsky is tightening up from Melendez. And then in 5th place, Gabriel Bektas now coming through, having got past Amaury Mertens. So Bektas is now in 5th position. But it's still very tight indeed in the X30 Minis as we go into the final 2 laps. This is when things really started to kick off yesterday. And through to the lead goes Lucas Flusha-Cross. Goodness me, I'm tripping over my worms as Lucas Flusha-Cross goes through to the lead. Patrice Kovalevsky goes through to second. Miguel Pereira down to 3rd place. And 4th position now, Alejandro Melendez still trying to come through. Can he get through on his main rival? Well, he's got pressure from Gabriel Bektas at the moment there in the 961 kart there. Bektas in 5th position trying to come through. So Patrice Kovalevsky through in a 2nd place. Lucas Flusha-Cross through to the lead. The 9-year-old is hanging on to this. Here comes Kovalevsky up the inside. It's looking likely that we're going to get a 4th different winner. Now here comes Miguel Pereira up on the inside of Lucas Flusha-Cross. He gets through in a 2nd. But Patrice Kovalevsky, the local man, is leading the way here from Miguel Pereira and Lucas Flusha-Cross. We are not done yet, though. We've got a lap and a bit still to go. This is going to be an absolutely terrific showdown, and the drivers know it. It will be a sensational finish to this race. Here they come. Flusha-Cross, Miguel Pereira having a little bit of a battle to try and hold him off, but Patrice Kovalevsky leads the way still. Flusha-Cross comes up on the far side, tucks up on the inside now for Miguel Pereira. Melendez defending from Ruiz, but Flusha-Cross through in a 2nd place. Miguel Pereira now 3rd. Can Flusha-Cross hold him off into the hairpin? Yes, he can. Melendez struggling to keep Amaury Mertens and Gabriel Bektas at bay. So Mertens now through into 5th position once again. Bektas is still there in 6th, but the Belgians are having a great race at the moment. Patrice Kowalewski now being caught by Lucas Fluscher-Cross and Miguel Perro-Zaraga. We're on the last lap, and is there going to be one final showdown? Here comes Perro-Zaraga on the inside of Fluscher-Cross. Through to second. Off on the grass goes Fluscher-Cross. He drops back behind Melendez, and now he's going to try and hold on in front of the Belgian alongside him. That is Bektas and Mertens. Oh, it gets very tight between those three. They're going to squabble to the line, and still they squabble. The two Belgians are now together. Fluscher-Cross has lost momentum. He's going to drop back down the order, but it's a victory for the homeboy. Patrice Kowalewski gets the victory in superb fashion. He is elated with that one. Patrice Kowalewski gets his first win of the X30 Mini Championship in 2018. And most important of all, it's the third race of the year for championship points. Look at him celebrating like crazy. Patrice Kowalewski, formidable. Oh, what a performance. A fantastic run from Kowalewski. Miguel Perro-Zaraga is second. Alejandro Melendez comes through for third. Bektas, Mertens, Melli in 6th position. The Belgians sweep the rest of the top 6 from Bogdan Unubria, Lucas Fluscher-Cross, William Go, Sergio Ruiz struggling in the end to finish 10th from Ruben Volt and Nathan Ottink, with sadly a retirement from the other top Belgian in the rankings, Kimi Abraham. But what about that in X30 Minis? 4 different winners from the 4 races we've had so far. But the Karting Club Francashore driver, Patrice Kowalewski, gets his first win of the 2018 season. And what a race win it was. Wow, that was superb. Absolutely majestic racing there from the X30 Minis again. Perhaps not as up-tempo as yesterday, but what a great job. What a great job. Patrice Kowalewski getting the victory. And a terrific racing performance there from another Belgian winner in the X30 Minis. Next up, we will continue on our battles, and it's going to be the pre-final for the Super Shifters. The rocket ships of the X30 European Championships are coming up next.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
A very unfortunate sight to see Kimi Abraham on the back of the low loader at the top end of the circuit as he is being recovered after a very disappointing early end to his race in a contact there with Nathan Ottink. They just got too close together. I don't think any one driver was at fault in that one at all. It was just a racing battle. They're always going to get close to each other. Two drivers fighting for the same bit of racetrack, and they're obviously going to come together if it gets too close for comfort. So, unfortunate for Kimi Abraham, victorious for Patrice Kowalewski, the Belgian taking his first win of the 2018 season on his home circuit here at Mariembourg, and he will be absolutely delighted with it. Now, we go into the pre-final with an interesting story to tell, because Stendonian Pirimagi is the championship leader in the Super Shifters, and he lines up on the front row of the grid alongside Kevin Luddy. If we go back to Friday's qualifying, those two drivers were actually incredibly evenly matched. They were separated by nothing. I'm not just talking about how close the battle is, nothing. To the thousandth of a second, both those two drivers, Stendonian Pirimagi and Kevin Luddy, were separated by 0.000. They both did a lap time of 53.787 in qualifying. I can't remember the last time that we saw that in the IAME X30 European Series for pole position. I've seen it for some of the lower positions, but not for the front end of the grid. And that was a very satisfying sight for all of us to look at on the Friday evening. That just happened to be the last qualifying session. So on the digiboard, that remained up all night long, looking at that 53.787 from both drivers. But then we went into the races yesterday. Kevin Luddy won on the road in the first race, but unfortunately he was adjudged, like his teammate Philip Seaver, to have jumped the start, and that meant that he was given a 5-second penalty, and that handed the victory to Stendonian Pirimagi in front of the local man with the Mach 1 machine, Thierry Del Rey. Stendori and Pinamaghi went on to take 2 more victories. So it's been a clean sweep so far in the qualifying heats. But Stendorian knows that the changing temperatures, the cooler conditions, and the possible threat of rain any time now, from what we were told on the weather forecast, is going to make things very interesting. So basically, we were given a prediction that it's going to be about 11:30, 12 o'clock when the rain is going to hit, if we're going to get any. So that is effectively halfway through this next race. So that could be very, very tricky because we've got the possible onset of rain to cope with, and that's not going to be easy to fend off. And all of the drivers are rather hoping that it stays dry, because obviously we've done all of our testing in the dry, we've done all of our qualifying heats in the dry, and that's what the karts are set up for. Nobody really, other than the 5 or 6 drivers who ventured out on the pouring rain of Friday evening when we had that, Thursday evening when we had that downpour. That was pretty much the only running we've had in the wet all weekend. But this is Belgium. We're not a million miles away from Spa-Francorchamps, and anybody who's watched Formula One at the Belgian Grand Prix will know that rain is a common factor, even in the height of summer. So it's a very tricky part of the circuit. It's a very tricky part of the course here. We're just in the foot of a beautiful hill range here, just on the outskirts of a massive quarry, just off towards the upper part of this part of the Belgian region. But the nearby towns, the picturesque, beautiful location here that we are in Couvin, and we've got this wonderful backdrop of some of these wonderful towns like Roli and Philippeville, over towards the French border, up towards the town of Givet, over the border. A wonderful area this, and beautiful, beautiful countryside, and set right into the heart of it, this fantastic circuit with its brilliant facilities. It really is a fantastic place to come motor racing. So Stendorian Pinamaghi and Kevin Luddy will be on that front row of the starting grid, the Estonian and the Swiss in succession. Then it will be the Belgian Thierry Del Rey, who lines up on home soil in 3rd position on that inside line from Casper Corjus, the Estonian for the Eix Racing team. Then it is going to be Nico Rohrwasser for Spirit Racing, alongside the Spaniard Carlos Leon for the FA Racing Spain team. Then we have Barry Pullinger for the Dan Holland Racing team in 7th on the grid, who was very unlucky in yesterday's 3rd heat. He didn't even start the race and probably could have been on the first 2 rows had that not have happened. Then Philip Seaver in 8th on the grid from Michel Biffiger, Doriano Marcucci, the local man, his teammate Leonard Chalet, the 2 Belgians for DCK Racing, and then Joao Diaz for the Spirit Racing team. Really exciting battle this, and this is the first of the races this weekend for the championship points. The winner will get 34 points, the second will get 33, 32 for third, 31 for fourth, and so on and so on. So basically, everybody who gets into the pre-final should get points as long as they do a good job. And then, of course, we will have a final later on, which will be for even more points. The championship leader at this point in proceedings is, of course, Stendorian Pinamaghi. After taking every single race last time out at Soubreeze, he got all 5 wins. Now he's hoping to do all 5 wins again today, but it will be tougher. And he said that earlier on when I was talking to him in our pre-race interview. He did say this is going to be tougher because we don't know what the weather's going to do. And if it rains during the race, that's going to be a real problem for us all, because we've obviously all set up the karts for the dry conditions. We're not really sure of the running on this circuit in the wet, and I don't think any of the super shifters actually went out in the wet on the Thursday afternoon. So that's going to be an interesting battle for them if it suddenly starts to rain during this race. But the difference in temperature from today compared to yesterday is staggering. The air temperature yesterday was a good 26, 27, 28 degrees at one stage. It's 22 degrees now, so it's still warm, but there's a lot of cloud cover in the sky because there is that onset of rain. It's cooler, there's a lot more of a breeze, and that's going to make the racing a little bit easier to keep up with for us, because we're not going to be sweating cobs in the grandstands and in the officials box. But of course, the spectators and the drivers, there's going to be a very exciting race in front of them. This is an opportunity for those drivers who cope better in cooler conditions to really come out on top form. So let's see how they get on in the X30 Super Shifter pre-final. Stendorian Pinamaghi and Kevin Luddy on the front row from Thierry Del Rey and Casper Corjus. Nico Rohrwasser and Carlos Leon on the third row from Barry Pullinger of Great Britain and Philip Seaver of Switzerland. Then Michel Biffiger and Doriano Marcucci at the head of Leonel Chalet and the Portuguese star Joao Diaz. This is going to be such a close battle between these guys compared to yesterday, because the heat will definitely give us a better type of show, and we're going to see a lot more intense battles. So really exciting battle. let's have a look and see how things are currently going. Really good battle as the drivers get themselves warmed up for the action now, getting the tyres up to temperature. So this is going to be a tough battle. They know it, and potentially this will be an even tougher race than the 3 races we had yesterday in the intense heat. There is still a lot of heat in the air, of course, and the drivers will be getting themselves up to speed to warm up the tyres and brakes. I hope we get that kind of battle in the race. Stentorian Pitamagi and Kevin Luddy having a little bit of a squabble there on the formation lap. I'm rather hoping that each lap is a bit like that, to be honest. But one of the things we saw yesterday that we saw in every single race, incredibly, was jump starts. Now, just to give us an indication of how many jump starts we got, we had 2 jump starts in the first race, Kevin Luddy and Philip Seaver. In the second race, we had 5 jump starts. We had Carlos Leon, Barry Pullinger, Doriano Marchucci, Philip Seaver and Leonor Chalet all got a jump start in the second race. And then in the third race, it was just the one for Philip Seaver. So that's 8 jump start penalties across 3 races. So obviously it's been very difficult for the drivers to time their starts. So they've got to make good work of it this time. So let's see if the drivers are going to get a better opportunity to start this time. Mr. Starter is on the finish line there. It's not a great run into the first corner. There's not a lot of distance to get to that first corner. And it is just after the timing beacon, of course, as well. So this is going to be an interesting first run as the drivers are now bringing themselves up onto the starting line. Stentorian Pitamagi in the Euro karting machine finds himself there on the front row of the grid. 6'11", Kevin Luddy alongside him. Thierry Del Rey, local man for the Mach 1 team. 616, Casper Corgis for the Ike's Racing Machine. And then we've got the 615 in there as well. Here come the drivers. It's about to go racing now. Rob Asser in 5th, Leon 6th for Pullinger, Seaver, Biffiger, Marchucci, Chalet and Diaz. They get green flag at the front. Time to go racing. Clean starts, please, folks. Lights are on. And it's a good start from the front, no problem. Thierry Del Rey launches away. There's no start at all for Doriano Marchucci. But out in front, Thierry Del Rey gets a good start. Now, there was a little bit of a creep from Carlos Leon, but I think he brought it to a stop before the race lights went out. So I think Leon should be okay with that. And I think that might be the first start without a jump start. But Thierry Del Rey, the Mach 1 superstar, has come up into second position. Forget the sound barrier. Check out Thierry Del Rey, the Mach 1 machine, right there in second behind Stentorian Pitamagi. He's come to battle. He wants to win, and he wants to get it done on home soil. So can Thierry Del Rey get on terms with Stentorian Pitamagi from the off? Kevin Luddy still there in third position as they battle for supremacy on the opening lap. Could be between these 3. If Thierry Del Rey gets through in the first couple of laps, we could be in for an absolute showdown. So Thierry Del Rey right on the back of Stentorian Pitamagi as they complete the first lap. Over the start-finish line once again. The first of 14 complete. Del Rey right on the back of Pitamagi. Luddy, Leon, Robassa, Corgius, Pullinger, Biffiger, Seaver, Chalet, Diaz and Doriano Marchucci. So now Thierry Del Rey is just following in the wheel tracks of Stentorian Pitamagi. Good battle for 5th position opening up as we've got Nico Robassa hanging on in front of Casper Corgius and Barry Pullinger. There's a little bit of a moment there. We've got a yellow flag. Somebody's gone off there somebody's gone off on the circuit there. It's one of the Spirit Racing carts that's rejoining the circuit. That's the 613 of Michel Biffiger, who was in 8th place. So Biffiger having gone off the circuit there at turn 4. That's turn 5 he's gone off. My apologies. So Michel Biffiger rejoining behind the man at the back of the field, Doriano Marchucci, who did not have the greatest of starts, unfortunately. So he has got going again now, Marchucci, but he is at the back, albeit just ahead of Michel Biffiger. Fastest lap of the race, Kevin Luddy trying to chase after these 2. Stentorian Pitamagi running in front of Thierry Del Rey, who knows this place so well. Thierry Del Rey wanting to get a victory on home turf and put himself on pole position for the final. So, Stentorian Pitamagi, the Estonian, has won everything so far this weekend. If we'd have hailed a raffle, he probably would have won that as well. He's got that kind of luck this weekend. But they're in second place, Thierry Del Rey doing a cracking job in second place. Fastest of all, though, in the first sector is Kevin Luddy chasing them down. Luddy's going very well this morning. And he is faster than both of the men in front of him. We are going to get a 3-way battle. This is exactly what we wanted. And it looks like we're going to get one this time. So Stendorian Pirimagi is doing an absolutely terrific job in the lead of the race, but he's got massive pressure from Thierry Del Rey and Kevin Ludi. Fourth place, Carlos Leon trying to catch them. Then it's Courgeus, Rohrbasser, Pullinger in seventh place. Then it is Philippe Siever from Leonard Chalet, Doriano Marchucci, Michel Bifiga, and Joao Dias. In fact, I'm not entirely sure what has happened to the Portuguese driver. Oh, we've had an off at turn one. That is Barry Pullinger. Barry Pullinger has gone off at turn one. And it looks like we got another off there. That's one of the cars further back. I think that was one of the Spirit Racing cars, but that's Barry Pullinger off at turn one. And I'm not sure what's happened there to see him go off the circuit. It looks as though he's had a breakdown or something, or has he battled with somebody else? Because I thought Pullinger was on his own. Well, he was in a little bit of a battle with Philip Siever initially. I don't know if there was contact. I didn't see anything, but Barry Pullinger has gone off the circuit there at turn one and is out of the race. That is a disaster. So the yellow flag's waving at turn one at the moment. So there's no overtaking after turn one, before turn one. Now they can go racing again. But look at how close it is. Stendorian Pirimagi, Thierry Del Rey, and Kevin Ludi, 1, 2, and 3, battling for the victory. This could be the best race of the 2018 season thus far in the X30 Super Shifters, as Del Rey sets a new fastest lap, 54.732. That is a whisker faster than the two other drivers. They're all in 54.7s at the moment in terms of their overall pace. But it's very, very exciting stuff. Now, the driver who went off, I should point out, is Philip Siever. He went off the circuit and has rejoined, but the gap has come down quite considerably as a result of that. No, apologies. It's Nico Rohrbasser who I think went off the grass at turn 5 and has now dropped back about 5 seconds behind Casper Courgeus, but he did get back on in front of his teammate Philip Siever. Chalet is in 8th from Marchucci in 9th, and then Michel Bifiga in front of the two men who have retired from the race now, Joao Dias and Barry Pullinger. So Stendorian Pirimagi still leads. Del Rey still second. Third is Kevin Ludi. It looks like Casper Courgeus is closing up on Carlos Leon behind them as well. There's his mechanic there just watching from the gantry. There is Carlos Leon being caught by Casper Courgeus. So the fourth place battle is definitely not done yet either. But this is a big problem for these three up front. They've got a lot of work to do because each of these two drivers they'll be battling with, from each driver's point of view, they will be feeling the pressure cooker bubbling over. Stendorian Pirimagi doing all the hard work at the moment, sat there in the lead. Del Rey and Kevin Ludi are actually the ones in the advantage here because they're just following in the wheel tracks of the man in the lead of the race. Stendorian Pirimagi continues to lead. Del Rey second. Third is Kevin Ludi. 3 different teams, 3 different nations, 3 brilliant opportunities to battle. Now, 4th and 5th position is still Carlos Leon and Casper Courgeus. They are still racing together, although it looks as though Leon has put in some good sector times and is starting to get away a little bit from Casper Courgeus. Stendorian Pirimagi responds, as now all of the drivers are in the 54.5 mark. 54.5 is now the fastest lap of the race, but all 3 of these drivers have done one. Stendorian Pirimagi fractionally faster. But Thierry Del Rey and Kevin Ludi are still just counting down the laps as they sit behind Stendorian Pirimagi. They cannot afford to let the Estonian break away, and he's already starting to with the fastest second sector. Not by much, but it's enough to have the 2 guys behind worried. They cannot let the Estonian get away. And the Estonian is starting to put a lot of speed down onto the circuit. Stendorian Pirimagi pushing hard. Del Rey trying to go with him. Kevin Ludi trying to remain in touch as they spread out a little bit more. But we're not done yet. We are now halfway home, in fact. 7 laps done, 7 to go. And Stendorian Pirimagi does another new fastest lap, a 54.3, compared to the 2 drivers behind, still on 54.5s for their best lap. But Thierry Del Rey sets the new fastest first sector of anybody. Kevin Ludi looks as though he's going strong in the second sector. So this is going to be a really interesting battle, and they will continue to fight as things continue to progress. So great racing from the front, these 3. But Stendorian Pirimagi is now kicking into his stride. He's got himself a little bit of breathing space now from these 2 behind. And surely the Estonian is going to do what he always does and start to jog away. Little by little. The others have done a 54.3 and a 54.4. Stendorian Pirimagi's just done a 54.1. That's how fast he's able to go once he's got things in control. 4th and 5th position, Carlos Leon and Casper Courgeus still battling. Kojus has not quite been able to get close enough to Carlos Leon to make the move stick. 6th position is now Philip Siever. He's got past Nico Rohrwasser. Then it's Lionel Chalet, Doriano Marchucci, Michel Bifiga. And then, of course, we have our 2 retirements from the race. Joao Diaz, who retired on lap 2, and Michel Bifiga, who retired on lap 6, very dramatically indeed as well. We're on lap 9 at the moment. So Stentorian Pedemaghi in the lead from Thierry Del Rey and Kevin Luddy. Carlos Leon and Casper Corjus, 4th and 5th position. But Stentorian Pedemaghi's got that little bit of a gap. It's only 0.6 of a second, but in this sport, that is quite a large margin over the rest of the field, especially when things are so fast and tight and close matched as this. But Thierry Del Rey is trying to keep his position on that front row of the grid. Leon and Corjus, you just saw there, still scrapping for 4th and 5th positions. But Philip Siever's trying his best to close up, as he's there in 6th position, having got past his teammate Nico Rohrwasser. 8th place, Lionel Chalet in front of Doriano Marchucci and Michel Bifiga. The Swiss driver who went off a little bit earlier on has now caught up to the back of Doriano Marchucci, who had a really tough run there. He's shaking his head, actually, Doriano Marchucci, as he comes through turn 4. He's clearly very frustrated with the way his race is going. But these guys are so physical, the gearbox karts. You've got to remember that not only are you racing a very tough machine in these X30 senior karts, not only that, but these are the gearbox versions, so you're also changing gear as you go around the circuit. And there's an amazing amount of energy that goes through your body, that goes through the kart, that goes through the machinery. You've got to do an amazing amount of testing work to get on top of it. Some of these guys have been doing it for a few years now, and even they say it is incredibly tough. You're basically looking at the power-to-weight ratio, about the same as a Grand Prix car-ish, based on the fact that you're going very, very fast, a couple of millimeters off the floor. And these are very technical karts to get right. Now look at Kevin Luddy. He's really putting Thierry Del Rey under some pressure now. So the Belgian needs to really come up to plate. Is this going to be a really strong run from Del Rey to finish in 2nd place? It looks like the winner's already gone, because Stentorian Pedemaghi's just found another gear compared to the other drivers, as it were. Metaphorically, I mean, not technically. Up the throttle and starting to get away. But Kevin Luddy now has 3 laps to try and get one over on Thierry Del Rey. And he knows it's going to be tough to beat the man on home soil, who knows this place so very well indeed. But Thierry Del Rey looking for another great race here in 2nd position in front of Kevin Luddy. Luddy tightens up in the braking zone. Del Rey gets back on the power to open up that 2 kart length gap that remains static on the straights. But if there's one error, if there's one mistake, Kevin Luddy is going to be straight in there for 2nd place to get his front row starting position back that he achieved very consistently over the course of yesterday. And still the drivers are battling away for as much as they can go. Carlos Leon still hangs on in front of Casper Corjus for 4th position. There they are. But Stentorian Pedemaghi is just continuing to motor around. No major problems from his point of view. He just waited until he needed to kick on and build a gap, and now he's been doing so. Fastest of all in the 2nd sector again for Stentorian Pedemaghi. He's just got such superior speed, and a new fastest lap, a 54.0 for Stentorian Pedemaghi. He could be in the 53s by the time this race is over. I think that's what his goal is. I think he wants to see if he can get a lap in under racing conditions in the 53s. Qualifying was a 53.787, so he might be able to get there if he just keeps pounding around. The kart is obviously getting lighter and lighter, but the tyres are getting older and older, so that is the compromise you make. But there is the battle for 2nd. Thierry Del Rey and Kevin Luddy as they continue to battle. Stentorian Pedemaghi, fastest of all in the 1st sector, fastest of all in the 2nd sector. Kevin Luddy definitely wants a sub-54 second lap time in this race to get close to his qualifying time of 53.787. Thierry Del Rey, meanwhile, has got to defend for one more lap from Kevin Luddy. Stentorian Pedemaghi over the line, and he has cracked the 54 second barrier. He's done a 53.967. Stentorian Pedemaghi, the Estonian, is just absolutely dominant. 2nd place, Thierry Del Rey, hanging on in front of Kevin Luddy. And they will battle for the final lap. But can Kevin Luddy get one over on Thierry Del Rey? It's going to need a bold move. But if anybody's good at a bold move, it's Kevin Luddy. So here they come, battling for position. Thierry Del Rey hanging on in there. Kevin Luddy wanting to try and get one over on his battler right at the moment. So can he find a way past Thierry Del Rey? At the moment it looks like no, but he's got one last chance. This man, though, has absolutely come to battle. He's set the fastest first sector as well. But then Dorian Pedemaghi has dominated in the pre-final, and he makes it 4 wins out of 4. Del Rey comes through in second place. Kevin Luddy through in third from Carlos Leon and Kasper Korjus. Philip Siever will come through in sixth position in front of Nico Rohrwasser. And then it will be Lionel Chalet from Doriano Marcucci and Michel Bifiga. But then Dorian Pedemaghi, crushing pace, 53.967. Fastest lap of the race. That's only 0.2 of a second away from his pole position lap. Amazing. How does the Estonian find this speed? I do not know. On tyres that are... Well, at the time he set that lap, tyres that were 12 laps old, he set a beautiful time there, 53.9. What a performance. Dorian Pedemaghi wins it from Del Rey in second, Luddy in third from Carlos Leon, Kasper Korjus and Philip Siever. Nicolas Rohrwasser in seventh place from Doriano Marcucci with Michel Bifiga and Lionel Chalet finishing off the top 10. Retirements, unfortunately, for Barry Pullinger in the Dan Holland Racing Team and Joao Dias for the Spirit Racing Team from Portugal. Well, that's the way they're going to grid up for the final a little bit later on. But we have 2 more races to go before we get to the business end of the race meeting, the finals. And that, of course, is the X30 Junior and Senior races for the pre-final. And we will start with the Junior pre-final in a couple of minutes' time.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Well, the Junior X30 final is up next. The pre-final, I should say, is up next. Jumping the gun there. And it's an all-British front row with the championship leader, Lewis Gilbert, is going to be there on the front row of the starting grid on that inside line. Very consistent yesterday with 2 seconds and 2 victories and a third. So Lewis Gilbert very happy with the way things currently went after yesterday. Josh Rowledge alongside him on the front row of the grid. The young Strawberry Racing driver putting in a fantastic show yesterday and pulled off a fantastic victory in the the 5th heat of the day yesterday. Sam Balota and Tom Uzan, the local men, find themselves on the second row of the grid. Consistency really working out for Balota, and Uzan in particular, the Frenchman, finds himself right up in there on that second row. That's the highest he's been all weekend as well. Josh McLean and Maximus Meyer will be there on the third row of the grid, and both of those drivers for Fusion Motorsport having good weekends, solid performances, in particular from Max Meyer, who I personally feel cruelly robbed of a chance to go for the victory in his third heat when his kart didn't start, when he was in the holding area. Then we have Alex Lloyd and Noah Maton in position there on the fourth row of the starting grid, with Liam McNeely and Rimo Kadapik on the fifth row of the grid to round out the top 10. There's a lot of drivers further back as well who want to make progress in this race. Plenty of junior drivers with some superior talent. Just outside the top 10, we've got Ronan Patrick Hakala and Enzo Juliet, who've been involved in several great battles over the course of the weekend. Then, of course, the 2 men on that 7th row of the grid. A real surprise and a bit of a shock to see them both there, actually. On the inside line, Luca Leistra, who a lot of people tipped for the victory this weekend and still could do it. And alongside him, the Spaniard, Marty Boyer, who's having a really frustrating weekend. Almost took a victory in his last heat, but his exhaust falling off in his second that put a lot of drivers out of the race as well. A very tricky weekend. Delano Van Hoff and Ollie Pilker are on the 8th row of the grid from Jerzy Spinkovic and Josh Ratican. And then we have the Brit Tom Leben for the BMR team alongside the HTB kart driver for Germany, Linus Janssen. Alessandro Tedesca lines up alongside the Flying Scotsman, Cian Shields, who's had a really tough day at the office, and he's hoping for a little bit more as he moves his way forward. We've also got Ken-Oscar Algra, the Estonian, as he lines up alongside Lois Delbart, the Belgian. This is going to be an interesting one as they set off. And then Laurent de Querta, Zach Ripley, Herbert Moore, William Nicolo, Alicia Barrett, Helen Norodini, Victor Pardo, Daniel Gregor, Jason Young and Eric Alanis Bosch. Those last 6 getting into the race by virtue of their top 6 in the second chance race. And I'm glad to say that all 6 of them have retained their positions from what I can tell. I think actually one of them has been docked, and that is Noah Ruvers, who originally finished in the top 6, and Eric Alanis Bosch has been promoted into the grid. So that's good news. But Alicia Barrett in particular put on an absolutely terrific race battle in the second chance heat earlier on. She took the victory, deserves her place in this finals grid, and great to see her in such a great shape at the moment. So, Gilbert and Rowledge on the front row of the grid, Balota and Uzan on the second, from McLean and Meyer, Lloyd and Maton, McNeely and Canapik. That's your top 10, from Hackler and Juliet, Lystra and Boyer, Van 't Hoff and Pilker, and then Spinkovic, Radican, Leben and Janssen, from Tudiska, Shields, Algra, Delbar, Lequerta, Ripley, Moa, Nicolo, Barrett, Nerudini, Pardo, Gregor, Jason Young and Eric Alanis Bosch. That's your 34-car grid. And they are the 34 drivers who will bid for championship points this weekend, and will come through with a fair few of them if things continue the way they are. So Lewis Gilbert on the front row of the grid. He was the championship leader coming into this race, having won the pre-final and the final at Salbris 8 weeks ago, and he is in prime position to get the job done again. And the young superstar from Dalry, with people watching all over the world, including Grandma Katie, who sends her love and is watching the stream at home back in Dalry. An absolutely fantastic job this could be for Lewis Gilbert to do back-to-back weekends. What he did 8 weeks ago at Salbris was pretty special stuff. Now he's got to do it all over again. And the stream has lit up. We've got over 100 people watching the Telemundi Media live stream as we get to the business end of the meeting. Everybody wanting to keep up with this one. A good luck Josh Rowledge comes from Strawberry Gaming. That'll be young Kai Bacchini, the hottest new commentator in the world. Just listen back to the Lark Hall British Championships. He will be absolutely a star of the future, even if he's not a racing star of the future, which he probably will be. So here come the drivers on the grid. Rowledge just talking to Lewis Gilbert. It's a bit difficult to do on the front row of the grid when you're in the gaggle, but they're holding up the field and making sure that everybody gets into position neat and tidy. And this is going to be a clean start. The engine revs rise, and we're going to go racing at Mariembourg. Lights out. It's time to go racing. Gilbert cuts straight across into the lead of the race. No problem at all. Rowledge is down to third position. Make that fourth. Make that fifth if he holds it to the outside line, though. He could get himself back in a P3 as there's already a little bit of jostling for position. We got two carts turned around in turn 2. Now, who is that? One of them out of the cart to get it pushed back into position straight away. But there's two carts down there, and they are strapped to each other at the moment. So that's two carts, I think, for the same team as well. No, my apologies. It's two different teams. I think one of them is the Evolution cart of the 46. Now, that is Ronan Patrick Hackler, and he is in there as well. I couldn't quite see who the other one was. So Ronan Patrick Hackler is down at the back of the field. And I think that might be Liam McNeely he's gone in with. So Liam McNeely and Ronan Patrick Hackler not having the best of starts to their race as they are now down at the back. But through into second position, crucially, has come the Belgian superstar Sam Balota, who wants to win on home soil. Lewis Gilbert leads, Sam Balota second, Josh Rowledge in third. Then it is Lloyd, McLean, Uzan, Boyer up to seventh, Juliet, Meyer, Canapik and Lystra. This is going to be one heck of a battle as some of these guys are going to be racing each other on the same bit of track for the very first time as they all scrap away for positions. The top drivers from X30 Junior this weekend. And there's going to be some spectacular driving all the way through as they pound around this Karting de Fania International Raceway. Just 11 laps for the pre-final. The big race is coming later, but 15.026 kilometers of racing in the X30 Junior pre-final. Lewis Gilbert leads the way. Sam Balota second. Josh Rowledge, Alex Lloyd, Josh McLean and Tom Uzan is your top 6. Marty Boyer trying to break into that top 6 as they go down the far side of the circuit. Still looks like, other than that little incident for Ronan Patrick Hackler and Liam McNeely, it's been a pretty clean start to the race thus far. End of lap 2. And time to keep racing as the drivers continue on the far side of the circuit. This is a good run for the leaders out front. Marty Boyer up the inside, making the move on Tom Uzan, and Marty Boyer is through into 5th position then. He gets the move there. Josh Rowledge down to 4th now, because through into 3rd position has come Alex Lloyd. Now, I have to mention that Alex Lloyd is actually having a very tough weekend physically, because he's got all sorts of problems. He's having a real bad day at the doctors, but they are pushing forward. He's feeling very unwell, Alex Lloyd, but he is working very hard to put himself on the top step of the podium regardless, and this is a cracking drive considering in 3rd position. And he's very close to the likes of Lewis Gilbert and Sam Balota and getting closer. So Alex Lloyd fired up for this one and he wants to win the final. Third in the pre-final. We're definitely taking one step closer. Rowledge is there in fourth. Marty Boyer now up to fifth position. Here comes Sam Balota for the lead into turn one on the fourth lap. He takes the lead. Gilbert's going to come straight back at him. So here goes Lewis Gilbert, tucks across, comes through. Alex Lloyd goes with him. So Gilbert and Lloyd first and second. Balota now third, and Lloyd's going to go for the lead straight away. They come together, and Lloyd has to back out of it. Balota's going to go through into second place once again, and now Marty Boyer is in fourth place. So Marty Boyer's up to fourth, having got past Josh Rowledge. So now Boyer is on the back of Alex Lloyd. It's Valencia all over again as those two will battle for position. Now, steely-eyed spectators will notice that after yesterday, there has been a little bit of a change at the KR Sport team. Lewis Gilbert has come out onto the circuit and he's leading the race with the old Nassau. He has changed from the grooves, from the groove nose that he had yesterday, and he has changed back to the old style of it nose. So I wonder if that was all just psychological mind games yesterday, because he's changed back to the old style as Lloyd goes for second, takes the place off Balota. Marty Boyer trying to get in there as well, decides to hang back and now finds himself in fourth position, chasing after the top three. Gilbert leads, Lloyd second, Balota third, not for long. Marty Boyer gets up the inside and takes third place. So Marty Boyer in a third from Balota, Rowledge and Uzan. Then in seventh position, that looks like Josh McLean in front of Remo Kadapik. Oh, and there's a little bit of a moment further back as Alicia Barrett loses time to Eric Alanis Bosch and a couple of the other drivers. Looks like Lois Del Bar has lost time and dropped further down the order as well. So a couple of drivers there getting a little too close for comfort. Marty Boyer on the back of Alex Lloyd and trying to push him a little bit further forward. No, Marty Boyer's going for second, and he gets there. Balota's through to third as well. So Lloyd down to fourth position. What a move that was from Marty Boyer on the right-hander of the hairpin. Now he's going to try and chase after Lewis Gilbert. So suddenly, first and second in the championship are first and second in the pre-final. What a fight back from Marty Boyer. And now Josh McLean has made the move on Alex Lloyd. So McLean's come through. Lloyd nearly goes over the back of McLean's cart. And now has lost 3 places because through has come 42 Remo Kadapik, who now gets the move on the inside of Josh McLean. Kadapik moves forward. Fastest lap of the race comes from Luca Leistra, who has moved himself up into the top 10. There's a warning flag come out for Ronan Patrick Hackler. I guess that was for the incident at turn 2 on the first lap. They must have put the blame at his door. But it's a lead for Lewis Gilbert. Second for Marty Boyer. Balota is third. Fourth now is Tom Uzan. So the Frenchman, Tom Uzan, making his debut this season here at Mariembourg in the IAME X30 European Series. He missed it at Sabris. He's here now and up in fourth position. What a run this is from Tom Uzan. Fifth is Kadapik. Sixth is now Leistra. And then there's a battle further back because we've got the likes of Alex Lloyd and Josh Rowledge trying to make up progress. But it's Rowledge in 7th, Lloyd 8th, Juliet 9th, and Maximus Meyer in 10th position. 11th place is Dilana Van Hoff from Jerzy Spinkovic. Josh McLean has tumbled away down to 13th place. A really unlucky lap from him. Make that 14th if this move from the Coles Racing driver Josh Ratican works. It doesn't. Laurens de Querta in 15th from Ollie Pilker, Linus Janssen, Tom Leben, William Nicolou, then Tudiska, Algret, Ripley, Gregor, Pardo, Kian Shields, who's not having a great race by his standards. He's really struggling in the gaggle at the moment. So is Herbert Moore and Jason Young. Then it is Maton. And then we've got Alanis Bosch, Nerodini, Barrett, Delbar, McNeely and Hackler. No retirements yet. And Balota supporting Marty Boyer at the front end of the field to close up on Lewis Gilbert. 5 laps to go. Make that 4 laps to go as they come through this time by. So now Lewis Gilbert leads the way. Marty Boyer is having to defend a little bit here to keep Sam Balota at bay. But Marty Boyer has not given up on his dreams of winning Mariembourg yet. He's right in there with his main championship opposition, Lewis Gilbert. It'll be these two, the Brit and the Spaniard, battling for the championship at this rate, because how Marty Boyer has pulled it back from a 14th position on the grid start to be second in the pre-final, the first race of the weekend that gives you championship points, is quite frankly insanity. Marty Boyer, an amazing young talent, but Lewis Gilbert, the Scotsman from Dalry, still hanging on to the lead for the moment. And he is the championship leader, don't forget, by just 4 points to Marty Boyer. So this is an important race for him to hang on to. But Marty Boyer's caught him up, and now he's right there. Lewis Gilbert knows that Marty Boyer's right there. He's now got to bring out his A game to keep the Spaniard at bay with 3 laps to go as they come down off the straight this time. Gilbert knows Boyer is there. He actually signalled him by. Interesting. Lewis Gilbert wants to be the one chasing. Marty Boyer's looking all over the place going, what did you do that for? Why did you let me through? Well, Lewis Gilbert says, I prefer chasing than being chased, mate. I'm going to put a move on you right at the bitter end. So Lewis Gilbert's got to be careful here because he's got Sam Balota and now Luca Lystra having caught up. Luca Lystra up in the 4th place as Gilbert makes the move for Boyer. Balota's gone through as well. Boyer trying to hold it round the outside and there's no chance. Lystra's through into 3rd position and there's a contact as Tom Uzan makes his move on the inside of Caterpillar. Oh, terrific. Marty Boyer down to 4th position now. With 2.5 laps to go, Lewis Gilbert has timed that to perfection. He let Marty Boyer go through in the first corner, then took him back at turn 6, and all of a sudden the floodgates have opened for the Spaniard, and Lewis Gilbert leads Balota and Lystra. Now Lystra's going to try and come through on the inside of Balota. He's through in a 2nd place, and all of a sudden those predictions of Luca Lystra to win this race are coming true as Luca Lystra has come back from 13th on the grid and is now in 2nd place. Balota's trying to come back past Luca Lystra. Lewis Gilbert has got to hang on to this with a massive queue of karts now forming up behind him. This could become the greatest race of the weekend. Gilbert leads. Lystra hanging on in 2nd from Balota. Boyer. 5th position in there is Uzan, then Caterpillar, Rowledge, and Enzo Juliet has joined the fray. And now that's Rowledge through on the inside of Uzan. Juliet's gone through as well. So Rowledge up to 6th position. In there with Remo Caterpillar up to 5th. Marty Boyer on the back of Sam Balota as they go down the short stretch into the final couple of corners. Lystra is in 2nd, but he's not close enough to Lewis Gilbert yet. But there is one more lap to go. All he's got to do, Lewis, is just hang on to this one. Marty Boyer now battling with Sam Balota for 3rd position. If 3rd is as good as it gets for Boyer, then he needs to go for it. Up on the inside of Balota. Balota squeezing him out. No chance to get through. Caterpillar is 5th. Rowledge in 6th position. Rowledge might get a chance here on Caterpillar. And so Juliet is still in there. And that's Max Meyer having fought his way up to 8th position. Great comeback from Max Meyer. He's now in 8th place in front of Uzan and Alex Lloyd. And it looks like that's Delano Van Toff having moved his way up into 11th position. Great comeback drives aplenty in this one. But how about this? Lewis Gilbert hanging on in front of Luca Lystra. Can he stay there? Lystra needs to use his extreme knowledge of this circuit. Superior kart control. Can he get through on Gilbert? He's right underneath him. Gilbert knows he's going to go for the move. Lystra trying to get past there, but I don't think Boyer's going to come through though. In 3rd position, side by side by Balota. It's going to be a tough one to the line, but Gilbert's going to get there. Gilbert wins. What a battle. A heroic defence from Gilbert. Lystra in 2nd place. And 3rd for Marty Boyer over the line in front of Balota. Wowee. Lewis Gilbert makes it 3 wins out of 3. And that was one of the hardest defensive drives you're ever going to see in this championship. But Lewis Gilbert hung on like a man dangling off the precipice with 2 fingers hanging onto the ledge and somehow pulled himself across the line in 1st position. What a drive from the man from Dalry. Lewis Gilbert wins in front of Luca Lystra and Marty Boyer. Sam Balota in 4th position from Josh Rowledge. Enzo Juliet in 6th place from Remo Caterpillar. A great fight back from Max Meyer. Alex Lloyd in 9th position. A worthy drive from him. And Delano Van Toff in 10th position ahead of Tom Uzan, Jerzyk Spinkovic, Lawrence Lequerta, Josh Ratican, Josh McLean, Ollie Pilker, William Nikolu, who came up 11 places, Tom Leben, Ken Oscar Algra and Linus Janssen, then Dan Gregor, Victor Pardo, Zach Ripley, Helena Nordini, Erbelt Moore, Jason Young, Alicia Barrett, Alessandro Tudiska from Loisdale Bar and Noah Maton tumbling all the way down to 30th place, unfortunately. Eric Alanis Bosch, and then some problems for other drivers. Cian Shields unlucky in that race from Ronan Patrick Hackler and Liam McNeely, who got caught up on the 2nd turn of the 1st lap. It's a tough day at the office. For several drivers, it's just got tougher. But for Lewis Gilbert, he hangs on in absolutely amazing style. Totally dogged determination. And he gets his 3rd win of the season. And it looks as though, post-race, we have a breakdown. Eric Alanis Bosch finished the race, and finished it in 31st position. But it looks to me as though Eric Alanis Bosch has broken down at the end of the race. So a big disappointment for him there in that one, although he did finish in 31st, which is the equivalent of making up 3 places over the course of the race. So a fair point for Eric Alanis Bosch. But Lewis Gilbert will start the final from Luca Leistra, Marty Boyer and Sam Balota. Barring any penalties, it will remain that way. But what a spectacular battle that Junior X30 pre-final was. The final is going to be even better later, and I can't wait for it. There is Eric Alanis Bosch being recovered, and that's a real shame to see him off the circuit there, but at least he crossed the finish line first. But next up is going to be the intense battle from the Senior X30 pre-final.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
So it's time to let battle recommence in the Senior X30 Brigade in what has already proved to be a stunning weekend. All eyes are on the local man on pole position, Eli Goldstein. For my money, I'm fairly sure he is the youngest man in the field, just 14 years of age in Senior X30, and he has put on a spectacular show this weekend. He goes off pole position, having had 3 wins out of 4 yesterday. A really spectacular run, but the Australian alongside him on that front row of the grid, Sean Butcher, is definitely going to give him a major run for his money. On that second row of the grid, we've got 2 big names, Joe Turney and Rens van Pelt, on the inside and outside respectively, and they will be a strong charge. And if you look down there in the holding area, you can see on the dummy grid, look at Joe Turney's kart. Yesterday he was running the baguette nose with the groove down the middle to gain aero traction. They have all in the KR Sport fold switched back to the old nose. Interesting how they have decided to make that change coming into the finals. Henke Waldschmidt is third row of the grid alongside the Frenchman Nicolas Picot. Joey Van Spunteren and Jordan Brown-Nutley will be in that fourth row of the grid, and then Clayton Ravenscroft will be on the inside line of row 5 along with the Swedish racer Isak Valtonen. So it is going to be a tough race battle, particularly though in Senior X30, because in my book, again, we've got a good 6 to 7 drivers in that top 10 who can all win this race outright, but the battles have been very, very strong. And it's worth pointing out something that I was sent by Steve Ravenscroft, who is the father, of course, of Clayton. It's worth pointing out, Mark Kimber and Clayton Ravenscroft have worked very hard, having had exams back home in the UK. He said, fair credit to Mark Kimber. He hadn't even seen the circuit before this weekend, so he's had to learn the track in the Saturday morning's practice session, go straight into qualifying and then work his way forward. So an incredible job from Mark Kimber, who now goes off where is Mark Kimber going to be starting from? He will start the race from... In fact, I'm not entirely sure he will be starting the race because I'm looking through the timing screens and he has not come through. So obviously he was a bit ahead on the road in the earlier second chance race, but it looks to me as though Morgan Porter, Carlos Saval Martin, Thomas Fleming, Sebastian Degrand, Thomas Imborg and Noah Roovers are the ones that have gone through. So unfortunately a penalty has taken the chance to win the second round of the championship away from Mark Kimber. So that is a real shame. But he has, as Steve Ravenscroft has told me, done a really outstanding job, considering that he had to learn the circuit first thing yesterday morning, having never been here before. But really, really exciting stuff. And it was a real thank you that he wanted to send to RGMMC for allowing the kids the time to complete their exams. That's one of the things that's really, really good about this particular championship. It's run by people who know that education really is important. And if there is a scheduling difficulty of that magnitude, then they will organise extra sessions to give the drivers a chance to get up to speed. And that's really, really good. One of the things we love about the IAME European X30 Championships, it is run by people who genuinely care, not just about racing, but about the people who are participating. It's really, really good to see that those considerations and those allowances are made in those circumstances. So 34 drivers are going to be competing for the points to then. They will head out onto the circuit, and this is going to be the first of 2 epic races from the Senior X30 contingent. I can't wait. And now you don't have to. They're on the rolling lap. Eli Goldstein and Sean Butcher on the front row of the grid from Joe Turney and Rens van Pelt. Henkie Waldschmidt and Nicolas Pico on the third row from Joey Van Spunteren and Jordan Brown-Nutley. Clayton Ravenscroft and Isaac Valtonen round out the top 10 from Niels Koelen and Vincent Marceau. Angus Mulsdale and Ali Ackerby are on the 7th row from William Godefroid and Siem Liedmar. Philip Vava and Ruben Moyer are on the 9th row from Danny Curl and Felix Varga on the 10th row of the grid. Levi Luntecanto and Milan Petele are on the 11th row from Harry Platten and Ben Fayers. Camille Proteau and Danny Bunchu are on the 13th row from Owen Byatt and Sylvester Alexeyevas. Then come the 6 that are through from the second chance race. Carlos Saval Martin declared the winner in front of Morgan Porter, Sebastian Degrand, Thomas Fleming, Noah Ruvers and Thomas Imborg. So it looks to me as though Mark Kimber sadly was penalised in that race, and as a result of that has been docked from the top 6. A real shame there actually, because he had fought his way to get there in very, very good form. So unfortunately that is the way that racing goes. So now it is going to be a completely different winner of the second round of the championship. No points for Mark Kimber this weekend. He gave it his best shot, but he's not going to score points this weekend, and that means we could have a new championship leader going into this second round of the championship. Now, to keep an eye on how things currently are in the championship standings, we need to look at the points table from the previous round. In the championship standings as we go into this race in Senior X30, Mark Kimber is obviously the championship leader, but he's about to lose that championship lead courtesy of the fact that he's not going to be in this race. Danny Curl is second in the points. He is way down in 19th position on the starting grid, so he's got a lot of work to do. Third in the championship is Camille Pruteau, who also has a lot of work to do because he's starting 25th on the grid for this pre-final. So the favourites to take the lead of the championship from the top 10 are Joey Van Spunteren, who is in 7th on the grid for this one. He's 4th in the championship points. And Clayton Ravenscroft, who is 9th on the grid for this one. But then Rens van Pelt is in 4th position on the grid, and he is 6th in the standings. We're going to have a really topsy-turvy race in this one. And it's going to be a really interesting battle. There's going to be a new championship leader by the end of the day, whatever happens. So let's go racing. The revs rise. It's Goldstein, Butcher, Turney, Van Pelt. Let's race into the first corner. It looks like there's a few hand signals. Are they going to go round again? So I wonder if there's going to be a restart. Yes, formation lap again by the look of it. So they are going round for a second, or is it a third time? So they formed up, but now it has been adjudged that that's not a clean start. So they are going to go round again. As if the pressure and the tension wasn't high enough here, and it definitely is high. They're going to now go round again. But this is a very interesting battle that we've got in front of us here for the Senior X30, IAME X30 European Series second round. We are going to get a new championship leader, whatever happens here, because sadly, Mark Kimber is going to have to watch this race from the sidelines if he hasn't already been sick to his stomach enough to drive home. But this is going to be a really interesting race. So now these guys get themselves queued up into position. And we are going to have an absolutely terrific battle. So a really exciting battle there. The drivers are going to be pushing very, very hard. And let's see who is going to come through for the victory. Revs rise as they get themselves back into their formations. It's not a very easy grid to form up, is it? As they continue to stagger themselves into position. A lot of drivers wanting to make a lot of progress very early on. Is this going to be a clean start this time? Yes, it is! And a cracking start straight away from the front as the drivers move their way further forward. There's a big jostle in the middle of the pack for the leaders. And that's Eli Goldstein having slipped down several places. We've got a spin in the middle of the pack. And it's absolute carnage. Pandemonium. As 4 or 5 karts all over the place. Several of them are now a long, long way down the order, and it's put Henkie Waldschmidt and Joe Turney into the front end of the field in front of Clayton Ravenscroft in third position. A lot of big names have tumbled down the order, though. That is a big one. I've never seen that kind of a squabble into the first couple of corners, and I think that's Sean Butcher. Is that Butcher off in the gravel from the front row of the grid? I'm just trying to see who it is that's in there in that front row of the grid. I think it's Sean Butcher who has come through. Well, no, Butcher's come through a long way down, but we definitely have somebody who is off there, and that's Thomas Fleming. That's Thomas Fleming who's gone off at turn 1. That's a real shame. So Fleming is out of the race. Henke Waldschmidt is in first place. Second, Joe Turney. Then it's Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley, Goldstein in fifth. Kuhlen, Godefroid, Ackerby, Vava and Marsaru. An amazing battle in the top 10 as they continue to quest away. But Henke Waldschmidt has got Joe Turney and Clayton Ravenscroft at the front end of the field all of a sudden. This is going to be a tough one. And now the new favourite to take the lead of the European Championship, unbelievably, is the KR Sport driver Clayton Ravenscroft, who follows his teammate Joe Turney into first positions. Absolutely amazing. 1 and 2. This is how they finished their first heat. Joe Turney and Clayton Ravenscroft first and second. How on earth have the Red Seas parted to allow Turney and Ravenscroft to come through to first and second so smartly and so neatly? That is incredible. Waldschmidt in third place. Fourth position is up for grabs because that's Goldstein back on the inside of Jordan Brown Nutley. He commits to the move a little late, but he's through in fourth place. Good work from Goldstein. So now Eli Goldstein, who had that little bit of a wild moment in the first corner, everybody got spat out together and a lot of drivers have tumbled down the order. The big one to drop is Rens van Pelt and Joey van Splunteren. Both of them have fallen a long way down the order. Van Pelt's down to 24th, Van Splinteren's down to 28th, and he's got big damage to his side pod as he makes his way up through the gears, and Van Splinteren's had an off. Van Splinteren's had an off there as he battles away for position. They both get back on the circuit at turn 5, but Van Splinteren has gone off the circuit there, and that is a big problem for the Dutchman, who was one of the favourites coming into this weekend, and now it's all unravelled around them. Now, watch the KR Sport boys as they will work together to try and disappear in front of the field. It's teamwork now for the KR Sport drivers as Clayton Ravenscroft and Joe Turney look to build a gap. Here comes Goldstein up the inside of Waldschmidt and goes into third place. Now, Goldstein, will be working hard like crazy here on Waldschmidt behind him. Please, let's get after these two. I don't want to lose this. As up the inside goes Brown Nutley on Waldschmidt. And also through comes the 314 of Niels Kuhlen. Not prepared to give that back, though. Waldschmidt does not let the Dutchman come through. Some absolutely cracking racing in this as a result of that carnage at turn 2. Several big names down the order. But a lot of drivers have come through as a result of it. And interestingly, the drivers who came through via the last chance have all managed to move up. Morgan Porter's come up to 16th. Noah Ruvers has come up to 17th place. Thomas Imborg is up into 19th position. Even Sebastian de Grand has had a big move up the order. So there's a lot of drivers who have done their best there. In fact, we've also lost not just Thomas Fleming, but Harry Platten and Felix Barger and Owen Byatt out of the race, as well as Goldstein now moves up in a second position. He wants to win so badly on his home turf. He wants to get this one done. So he's got past Clayton Ravenscroft, no problem at all. Joe Turney still the leader. Oh no, actually, they've swapped positions, have they? No, it is Ravenscroft who leads now. Turney down to third position. So Ravenscroft has come through to the lead. And Joe Turney in third position. I was looking at my timing screens at the wrong moment. Apologies. So Ravenscroft in the lead of the race. And that's the first time he has hit the front all weekend. And that is incredibly impressive, considering that Clayton Ravenscroft's first session of this weekend was the final practice session of Saturday morning, created especially for this class so that some of the competitors could do their exams wherever they were in Europe. But Joe Turney down to third position will now be chasing after Clayton Ravenscroft, trying to shake off Eli Goldstein into turn 1. Goldstein knows this place so much better than Clayton Ravenscroft, not just this weekend, but in terms of the fact he grew up here, so he knows this place really well. But is that going to be enough to crack the Nigel Mansell new boy? Clayton Ravenscroft. As up to third comes Jordan Brown Nutley. He makes the move on Joe Turney, and Niels Kuhlen is going to get past as well. Henke Waldschmidt, by the way, has dropped a long way down the order now. He's got Godefroid ahead. Ackerby's gone through. Marsaru's gone through. And Vava's gone through. So Waldschmidt's down to 10th in front of Valtonen, Liedmar, Mulsdale, Fayers, Bunchu, Porter, Danny Curl, Thomas Imborg, Ruben Moyer and Sylvester Alexievas in the top 20. Look at Goldstein, though. Hustling Clayton Ravenscroft. In fact, Ravenscroft actually got a warning flag for something. Not sure what that was for, but Ravenscroft has been given a warning flag. And he will receive that this time by, I do believe. But now he's trying to shake off Goldstein. Goldstein is following in Ravenscroft's wheel tracks. He knows that Ravenscroft is the new favourite to take the lead of the championship with the way things have currently settled out. So now Ravenscroft is going to have to work very hard to keep the homeboy favourite, Ely Goldstein. A lot of the locals have said, I promise you, Goldstein's winning this. He's in such brilliant form at the moment. He sat there in second place behind Clayton Ravenscroft. It's up to the Brit to hold him off for the entirety of. Ravenscroft working very hard at the moment to keep this race under wraps. But he's having to he's pushing very, very hard indeed to get there. This is a very tough race for Clayton Ravenscroft to hang on to the lead. The IAME Winter Cup Senior X30 champion for 2018. The current national championship leader back home in Great Britain of the Junior X30s. Now he is here in the senior battle. Goldstein up the inside though. He takes the lead. But this is definitely not over for Ravenscroft. He knows that he can get him back. And he's going to work hard with him. The KR Sport plan has not worked. They are no longer 1 and 2. They are now 2 and 5. And Ravenscroft is right in there behind Ely Goldstein. The Belgian pushing very hard indeed here. Ely Goldstein leads the way on home soil. He knows this amazing Mariembourg circuit very well indeed. The Karting de Fagnes International Raceway is where he cut his teeth in motorsport. Now Clayton Ravenscroft is going to have to dig deep and find something special, which is something he has always been good at. 7 laps done, 7 to go, and Ravenscroft is trying to beat the hometown hero. So Goldstein, Ravenscroft, Brown-Nutley, Coolan now up to 4th place in front of Joe Turney. He's going to be a threat in this one. He's already taken a heat victory this weekend, of course. Don't forget Niels Coolan in 4th place. This could go his way. Jordan Brown-Nutley, always a big talent in the top 3 as well. So he is there in position. Do not forget about him. A lot of the drivers trying to fight their way through. Behind the top 5, we've got Vincent Marceau having moved up to 6th position. Then it's Godefroid, Varver, Waldschmidt back up to 9th. And then Liedmar, the new fastest man on the track. Ali Akaby, Morsdale, Valtonen, Porter, Fayers, Bunshu, Curl, Moya, Imborg and Alexievas in front of Rens van Pelt, Nicolas Pico and Milan Petelet from Lintercanto, Pruto, Ruvers, Van Splunteren and Sebastien Degrand in front of Sean Butcher and Carlos Saval-Martin, who are now down at the very back of the field. What an amazing, dramatic race this has turned out to be, as we've lost several drivers from the fray. Tom Fleming, Harry Platten, Felix Varga and Owen Byatt. But by turn 2, the entire pack of cards in this field should pretty much have been thrown up in the air and just gathered together in any random order, because it's a very different battle compared to what we saw on the way to turn 1. Although one man has fought his way back into the lead, determined to get the win. Ely Goldstein, the Belgian, has done an absolutely terrific job. So Ely Goldstein is doing a great job there in position. And if Ely Goldstein gets the job done, he will be an absolute hero on home soil. Pole position was good enough. But now, if he can get the maximum points from the pre-final, that is definitely a step in the right direction. Clayton Ravenscroft still right there in 3rd and up to 4th. Sorry, Ravenscroft 2nd. In behind is Jordan Brown-Nutley, but up to 4th is Joe Turney now. Turney has made the move. So Turney is through into 4th position, and I think he's been followed through by William Godefroid. So Godefroid has come back into the top 5 once again. Again, good knowledge of the Mariembourg circuit, really helping him fly. And as they come through, they will have 4 laps to go. Goldstein is leading. 2nd is Ravenscroft. 3rd is Jordan Brown-Nutley. 4th is Joe Turney. A long way to go still, though. 4 laps remain in this Mariembourg circuit pre-final of the IAME X30 European Series in Senior X30. But Ely Goldstein battling away with Clayton Ravenscroft for the lead. Jordan Brown-Nutley trying to stay in touch. Not quite able to at the moment. Still there in 3rd position, but a little way back from these two. Ravenscroft has definitely not thrown in the towel. In fact, he's matching Ely Goldstein's first sector pace. The fastest first sector of all, though, is Milan Petelet, who is trying his best to move forward out of his 23rd position he currently finds himself. Well, there's the man up to 5th position. That is Vincent Marceau in front of Niels Coolan and Philippe Varver. William Godefroid back down to 8th in front of Henke Waldschmidt and Siim Liedmar. But with 3 laps to go, it looks as though it could be these two on the front row. Ely Goldstein and Clayton Ravenscroft. Bagging solid points would be a very positive start to the weekend for both of them. But then, of course, they've got the final to come, and that's going to be even more ruthless with so many drivers who were at the front end originally in this pre-final grid trying to fight their way through. This could be one of the best finishes to a Senior X30 weekend in the European Championships history. Goldstein, Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley, Turney, Marceau, Coulin, Vava, Godefroid and Waldschmidt in the top 10 at the moment. Liedmar is in there as well. So it's going to be a close fight, but I think Eli Goldstein has got enough to pull away that just bit much in front of Clayton Ravenscroft. He's nearly 0.2 of a second quicker in the second sector. Goldstein pulling out the gap. He knows what he needs to do. He knows how to run this circuit at absolute electric pace. So let's see if he can get the job done. Eli Goldstein running well in the lead. Ravenscroft second. Third, Jordan Brown Nutley. Fourth for Turney. Fifth for the new fastest man in the third sector, Vincent Marceau, trying to get on terms with Joe Turney. 2 laps to go. And at the moment, it is Eli Goldstein, that crucial few tenths of a second in front of Clayton Ravenscroft to get this victory done. What an amazing drive this would be for Goldstein, having initially been punted backwards down the order, dropping to about 6th or 7th place to fight his way back and take the victory. The 14-year-old wonder kid from Belgium has done an absolutely amazing job here. So Eli Goldstein working very hard indeed, continuing to move his way forward and doing an absolutely terrific job. Let's not forget, he is an incredible talent. He was 5th place in the CIK FIA Academy Trophy back in 2016. He's been working his magic as he continues to grow, and we're into the last lap, and Goldstein has got well and truly clear of Ravenscroft now. Surely he's not going to lose this race. He's just set the fastest lap on the last lap, 56.224. Goldstein looking good for the win from Ravenscroft. There's an absolute squabble further back, but Ravenscroft is looking good in second place. There's Jordan Brown Nutley in third position, still hanging on. A warning flag comes out from Camille Pruteau. So Pruteau has got a warning flag for something. Didn't see what it was. But there's some absolutely terrific battling in this race. And it's going to be Eli Goldstein, who has well and truly marched ahead, taken the gap, wrestled the bull by the horns and got himself back into the lead despite things looking a little bit dreary. But Eli Goldstein is going to come on the far side of the circuit, out in front of Clayton Ravenscroft and Jordan Brown Nutley. It's a magnificent drive from Eli Goldstein. He's really worked its magic, and it's a win in the pre-final for Eli Goldstein. Oh, majestic race. Ravenscroft second from Jordan Brown Nutley, Joe Turney fourth from Marceau and Coulin, Vava, Waldschmidt, Liedmar and Godefroid in the top 10. But the man on top is Eli Goldstein. What a victory. What a race. And that's maximum points in the pre-final for the Belgian. That will do his championship campaign no end of good. And a fantastic result after 19 kilometres of no-holds-barred racing. Eli Goldstein is victorious in the pre-final, and that was one heck of a result to walk away with. Ravenscroft, Brown Nutley and Joe Turney making an all-British triumvirate following him home from Vincent Marceau and Niels Coulin, Philippe Vava and Henke Waldschmidt, Siem Liedmar and William Godefroid in the top 10. Ali Ackerby and Angus Mulsdale lead the charge behind, ahead of Isaac Valtonen and Morgan Porter, Ben Fayers, Ruben Moyer, Danny Curl, Sylvester Alexievas, Nicolas Picot and Milan Petele in the top 20. Then it's Rens van Pelt, Thomas Imburg, Noah Rouvers, Danny Bunshu. In 25th position behind them is Levi into Canto from Joey van Spunteren, Sean Butcher, Carlos Saval Martin and Camille Pruteau and Sebastien Degrand in the 30th position, with Owen Byatt retiring and Felix Varga, Harry Platten and Thomas Fleming failing to complete the first lap. Well, that is drama like you would not believe in the Senior X30s. But through all of that, despite dropping back to a good 7th position on the opening lap, Eli Goldstein just got on with it and got the victory. Terrific work, picking them off one by one, got himself into the lead, pulled a bit of a gap, and that was enough to get the job done. Well, that is a very exciting end to the action for the moment at least, but we have got more great racing to come with our first final later on today. It is 1:30 local time that we are racing, and I'm a little bit dubious about this cloud cover. Is there going to be a rain shower before the finals? We certainly hope not, but there's going to be some absolutely terrific races to come in each of those finals. For X30 Mini, Junior, Senior and Super Shifter, we're going to have a very close battle to come back to. We will continue on with the race action a little bit later on. We're going to take a breather now for our lunch break, but we will come back ready for the X30 Mini Final at 1:30. So we will probably be going back on the stream about 20 to 15 minutes before that. So do stick around. We've got plenty of racing to come as we close out the IAME X30 European Series here at Mariembourg in Belgium. And we've got 4 races to go to decide the winners in X30 Mini, Junior, Senior and Super Shifter. We'll be back soon.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.